And you're still watching Prime Morning. I promised you earlier that I'll be back, and I'm back. We still have more to go, and I'm not here alone. Guests have changed a bit. We'll come back to the same old guest later. But I have with me Amanda Akwoko Clinton Esquire. She is the head of chambers at Clinton's consultancy, MSc, in African politics with London, in London. Hi, Amanda, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. When did you come to Ghana? Because the last time you were in UK, we had a conversation, right?
Yes, I've been in Ghana for quite a while.
Okay, all right.
I go back and forth a lot.
Okay, that's great. All right, and Professor Kwapong will be joining us on Zoom as well. Now, I know so many messages came in earlier, and I did promise you that I was going to read a few of your messages, and then we can delve into our next conversation. Welcome, Professor. Kindly unmute yourself for us, Prof. Okay, so Prof, I'll come back and I'll speak to you. So Professor Sai Kwapong is joining us. He's not in Ghana today, so he's joining us for us to delve into the conversation. We are going to take a look at what will happen in Parliament today, what the Constitution says about it, and who has the mandate to declare what this morning. Now, before we do that, we'll also take a look at what happened in America. And, you know, Amanda really wants to give her take on it, and I know Professor Kwapong will also give us his take on it as to how it ties to our politics here in Ghana. Could we see, you know, a trickling effect in our elections during 7th of December? Professor Kwapong will answer that when I ask him that question, and I want to welcome him. Hello, Professor Sai Kwapong.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me? I can hear you now. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Yourself?
I'm fine, thank you, Prof. And welcome. We wish you were here in Ghana, but during the second sitting, you have run away.
I know, right?
Well, we'll be talking more about this, and so don't go anywhere. Let me see if I have some few messages. I can start reading a few of the messages so that I come back into our conversation. So if our messages are ready, like I promised my viewers, I want us to take a few of the messages, and then we go into our conversation, else we might not be able to read all the messages. Don't worry, your politicians also come and take their seats pretty shortly for us to delve into theirs as well. So this segment is probably brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise. Whatever gadgets you're looking for, whether mobile phones, television sets, CCTV cameras, we tell you to worry no more because we've got you covered. All you need to do is to download the app on your phone, which makes things very, very simple, or visit our website, www.francotradingenterprise.com. Franco Trading Enterprise, still and still phone papa pair fee. So, okay, so where did I get to? I got here, so let me stick to this one. So this one says, good morning to you and your panelists. Please tell the NDC man to tell what they did. Okay, I read this one already. This one says, Madam Host, yes, Baumia paid. Did Mahama too pay? Does he know where people come from to vote? Even his sister sat on Asempa FM and said she paid when she was contesting for the CPP General Secretary. Is his sister corrupt from Ishmael Opare Nyante from Takrade? Did Mahama commission all 26 E block schools, Madam Host? Okay, so if you didn't commission it, good morning, Roslyn. Kudos to Honorable Timothy and Lawyer Jantua for well-educational submissions. Verily, for Honorable Timothy, how he figured out the use of the monies borrowed under the NDC in the likes of Etuabo Gas, etc. are a great investment. We are really proud of them, NDC. Togbi Banini says so. Good morning, madam. Please, is Saka Sali aware that the train lines are being taken off by his own party folks, Kojo from Cape Coast? Okay. This one says, good morning, Roslyn, and good morning to your panelists. It's really obvious that our politicians fail to learn decent politicizing from their masters. Please ask our two major political parties in Ghana, NPP and NDC, if they witnessed any gunshots in American poll, which was one-touch victory without a gunshot. Our politicians should be advised to learn and always learn good things from Westerners. Why NPP was against 24-hour economy? Are they not visiting same America and witness same 24-hour economy over there? Good morning, Madam Host and your panelists. I am enjoying your conversation, but see something, the man talking now can really not express himself. the NPP communicator because there are no truths in what he's saying. See the way the other communicators express themselves when they are talking. Okay, all right. All right, I hear you. Thank you very much. Good morning. In fact, kudos to the NPP for the continuous shape of the infrastructures NDC left. All right. So, good morning, Rosalie, and your panelists. I'm so sad anytime I hear some of these NPP communicators. They are rather worsening issues and making we, the young ones, lose hope. We'll look at our situation and vote. For a young lady who is supposed to be a breadwinner of the family but is jobless after completing tertiary for the past 5 years, it's more sad if you pass an interview but then have no money to rent around that place. What kind of a country is there? Sarah from Ada. Sarah, everything will be well, okay? All right, so this one says, good morning to you and your panelists. Please, on the issue of the interchanges, NPP have done a marvelous work, which you and I can't dispute. NPP government stands for development. Let's give them another chance for them to continue their leftover. Thank you. My name is Adam Damba, and I'm doing the monitoring in Tamale. All right, Adam. Good morning, Roslyn. Yesterday, Speaker set the record straight. Ghanaians should vote NPP out in 2024 election. Both President and Judiciary has sinned against Ghanaians from Kofi Darko, Cape Coast. All right, today it looks like I'm having a lot of Cape Coast people watching. Good morning, Roslyn. The inconsistency the NPP and their communicates are exhibiting is disrespectful to Ghanaians. We will show them pepper come December 7. Abdul Mantin. All right. Abacha from Garu, okay, says that John Mahama all the way. All right, Abacha. Okay, so Stephen Opoku says, good morning, dear Roslyn. Please, there's every indication that the EC is not competent or deliberately and continuously doing things that give stakeholders to suspect them. It's worrying, but they should remember God knows and sees in darkness. They can have their way today, but should not forget we'll face tomorrow alone. Time will tell. Yes, time will tell. Good morning, Roslyn. I hear the NPP man calling Tamale overpass an interchange, and I want him to know that we don't have interchange in Tamale. All right. Okay, so Alhassan one in Wa. Good morning to you, Joy Prime, your most important panelist, more especially Saka Salia. Sincerely speaking, MPP government has done far better than NDC in terms of development in all sectors in Ghana. Okay. Good morning, Roslyn. I wish Allah do a miracle in bringing a different party into power, maybe the CPP. Okay, let's see what the future holds. The MPP people will... Oh, no, they won't. This one, I won't even read it. They won't. Okay. So, Teacher Kujo says that Speaker Gbagban is a disgrace to our democracy. Who does he think he is? Nobody's above the law. We cannot allow him to make Ghana a lawless country. All of us are under the Constitution of Ghana, which is the law. When the Supreme Court gives orders, you have to obey them to protect our democracy. So what is going on now? All right. Good morning, Joy Prime. I am calling the youth of Ghana to force Dr. Bawumia to start talking about the economy as well as answering some economic questions and the 5 questions from the former President John Mahama. We should force him to talk about the economy as he did before the 2016 elections. We want to know whether the fundamentals are weak now or not. We want him to meet the press, and I mean those who will put him to scrutiny to answer some questions about the economy and stop calling Mahama for a debate. The economic wizard must answer some questions, period. All right, Moat, I think that he's already met the press. Musa Batua says Donald Trump's win hints at potential change because the U.S. election outcomes often have influence in Ghana's election results, with both countries' Vice President Kamala Harris and Dr. Bawumia distancing themselves from the unpopular policies in Ghana. Dr. Bawumia, who led the EMT, appears to be running away from some of the very policies he championed, like e-levy, emission tax, Ebola tax, and many more. As Trump's Sankofa victory symbolizes Mohammed's Sankofa agenda in Ghana, change is coming. All right, I'll come back and I'll read more because I know I do have a lot more messages, but I'll come back and I'll read more. Now I want to go to Professor Kwapo. Professor.
Yes.
Yes. So, you know, the last message that I read, People feel that, taking a look at what happened in America, we could see a reflection of that in our elections, because when they look at the past elections, how the voting pattern has been, it's some way, somehow matched up to what we do in Ghana, except for 2020. Do you think that the fact that America has returned Donald Trump to the White House, we might see a reflection of that in our election as well?
I mean, not necessarily. Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on what is motivating Ghanaians for this election. It depends on how they feel about the two major candidates. The thing, though, that for me, I would notice that. So if you look at the exit polls, over 70% said, the country was not in a good place, right? Majorities were saying that inflation had affected them. A lot of people were saying that they are worse off today than they were 4 years ago. So if you look at some of the economic questions and how voters in these exit polls were saying they were feeling about the economic questions, even before the night was over, when I saw those numbers, I said to myself, it will be very difficult for an incumbent to be able to win an election when citizens are feeling this way, about, the country, the economy. And yes, there are other factors that contributed to Donald Trump's victory as well. So if you put that within the context of Ghana, right, and you look at the most recent Afrobarometer, where almost 8 out of 10 say the country is heading in the wrong direction, where reviews of experiences with lived poverty, how Ghanaians are saying they're feeling about their personal living conditions, the country's economic conditions, how they are evaluating government's management of the economy, things like that. You look at those things and then you say to yourself, it puts the incumbent party in a very vulnerable position. But then again, it boils down to the extent to which then Ghanaians would say, looking at the two major candidates, who can address these economic pinch points that we are facing or not. Take a look at Botswana, for example, and the historic win of the opposition party after 66 years of the same party being in power. Again, if you look at Botswana's Afrobarometer results over 9 rounds, you start realizing that there was growing dissatisfaction with, economic conditions, government performance on key policy issues, which made the ruling party very vulnerable, and an effective opposition was able to take advantage of that and win the election. So there are warning signs for the incumbent party, and we'll see what happens on September. I said September.
December 7th,
December 7th.
right? But do you think it will influence people? Maybe, initially some people felt that bringing somebody who had served before coming to serve only 4 terms, the person might not be able to accomplish much within 4 years, and we are seeing America do it. Will some people now be convinced that since America has been able to do it, then it means that somebody can serve 4 terms and still fix an issue?
It could. I mean, you just don't know how many of the voters will be thinking along those lines. But I can see the possibility of, some voters saying, well, maybe if the US has done it, maybe we can also try it. But of course, as they also say, every election is local. So our own local Ghanaian dynamics, I believe ultimately is what would shape how the elections turn out on December 7th.
Well, I can't wait to see what will happen. You are not gone yet. I want to speak with Amanda here, and then I come back to you, Professor Kwapong. Amanda, the elections in America, are you surprised at the outcome, though?
I am slightly surprised.
Okay.
I think that Kamala had a lot of backing, but because she is black and a woman, the saying goes, you have to do twice as much. So despite the fact that she was going against a convicted felon, she needed to be twice as good and could have demonstrated more depth by, for instance, having a book, because one of the key reasons that Obama won is that we all got an insight as to who he was and how he thinks. With the book, The Audacity of Hope, which was very well received. And if Trump's wife can be on the top of the New York Times best-selling list based on her book, which is a little frivolous, Kamala should have perhaps written a very in-depth book, not only on policies, but who she is. And if that had gotten to the top of the list, people would really have identified with her. So it's a bit of a missed opportunity, but she did have to be twice as good, and she did have to separate herself from Biden's policies, because she was given an opportunity at the debate to say, what would you do differently? And America is suffering. A lot of people, are facing inflation. They're out of jobs. They're very disgruntled. And that was an opportunity for her not to discredit him, but to say what she would do differently. And she couldn't answer that question. And so I think the voters likewise responded. But it was all about the economy. And
But you used the word on Donald Trump, a convicted felon.
Yeah.
That makes him less appreciated as compared to, Kamala, who doesn't have any criminal record. And so for that, Kamala had an advantage, right?
But the voters didn't see it that way. I mean, the voters just saw it as perhaps a witch hunt by the institutions against him, and the whole thing was kind of like just set up to discredit him. What the voters cared about was the economy. They cared about their livelihoods. They cared about less red tape, which is what the Democrats demonstrate. People think that there's a lot of red tape. And Kamala missed an opportunity by bringing up all these famous stars. Do you see what I mean? And it showed a bit of lack of depth, because people cared about policies and whether she was going to deliver. And so if she had a book like Audacity of Hope, I definitely think Kamala would have won, and if it was authentic.
But Kamala did have a book when she was actually elected as the vice president.
Okay.
Yeah, when she became the running mate for Biden and became the vice president. Yes, she did have a book that was out.
Then she should have updated it or brought it to the forefront more, because, I mean, as I mentioned, Donald Trump's wife is at the top of the New York Times best-selling list for a book that is quite irrelevant. And she was running for president. So perhaps that was an opportunity for her people to have rather platformed her, even if it was just revising her book. Because Obama's books contained his policies, but very much gave us an insight of who he is and how he thinks. And Kamala was a better candidate, but she really needed to do twice as much work, I think.
Don't you think people just wanted, like you said, probably on the policies, probably on how to fix the economy, because the inflation was so high, and more of that than the right for the people? Because I think that for her, she was more fixated on the abortion right, on the LGBTQ right, where people felt this is not what put food on our table.
Exactly. And, before her, Hillary Clinton also missed an opportunity by focusing on how many glass ceilings she was going to shatter by becoming president. These candidates would have been better off studying who has become female prime minister or president in their country and emulating them, like in Australia, for instance, the Prime Minister, like Thatcher in the UK, etc. You emulate what has worked. You don't focus on very sort of particular issues, which is just female. And, people care about the economy, and they care that they don't have food on their table. That's what you address, and you deal with all the other issues as a secondary matter.
Well, better luck to her next time. But do you think they will put her at the forefront?
I think they should. I really think she's very photogenic, which helps in in this day and age. She's extremely photogenic. She does have depth, and she's got a very good steel inside her in terms of as a prosecutor and everything else. So she just needs a bit more fine-tuning, I think, and to come across with a bit more depth. But she is the candidate, I think, for sure.
Right. And we will be crossing over to Parliament pretty shortly to see what's happening. I hear the setup is ongoing, and Parliament will start its sitting by 10 a.m. And so right now, I know that they started a setup, and Kwekwa Sante will bring us the report later. But let me go to Professor Kwapong. Professor Kwapong, Yesterday, with regards to the speaker meeting, the media, he did make a certain comment on what he feels with regards to the outcome of the issues between himself and the Supreme Court. Now, taking a look at what he said, some of the things that he said was that this should have been settled amicably out of court, as the leaders, and not for it to have gotten to court to that extent. Do you agree with him on that?
I do. And if you recall, when I was on your show about, I think, 2.5 weeks ago, one of the things that I mentioned was that I'm getting increasingly worried that we are drawing the Supreme Court on too many occasions in some of these quote-unquote political fights. Yes, if something is so egregious that it offends the Constitution, I have no problem if you want to go to the court to get clarification, interpretation, etc., etc. But for me, some of these questions are also politically sensitive, that you want to be a little careful the extent to which you draw in the Supreme Court to resolve some of these politically sensitive questions. Otherwise, what I foresee is that once the court starts ruling on some of these things, you may get the unintended consequences of Parliament's independence and authority being chipped away a little bit, right? I foresee a situation where it would look as though even for some basic things for Parliament to do, it may have to, seek permission from the court based on rulings and precedents that are being set. So I agree with the Speaker when he says, look, this is something that in consultation with the leadership, we could have resolved this without drawing in the Supreme Court. He talks about a lot of some of the key characteristics that makes democracy work. And one of the things he mentioned was consensus building. And it has been something very difficult for this 8th Parliament, I guess partly because of also its composition with both parties, the two main parties having equal strength. But I agree with him that you want to find ways to build consensus and resolve some of these things internally without having to draw in the judicial branch of government, because in my opinion, I worry what that in the long term can do to Parliament as an independent and co-equal branch of government.
Very true. It's quite a worry. I remember having a conversation with some of our guests, and I did mention that very soon we might have every political party or every member of Parliament who feels that I don't understand this in the Constitution, I ought to run to either the High Court or the Supreme Court for interpretation, and we might see one too many. You agree, Amanda?
Very much so. I mean, as the Speaker said yesterday, we have to prioritize the nation's interest over partisan views. And so the NPP MPs could have done that more. I mean, we do have to clarify, I think, for your audience that it is right to go to the Supreme Court when you want clarity on legislation. Parliament is independent to a certain extent, particularly when it comes to procedures. But when it comes to fact-finding and the interpretation of the law, it is the Supreme Court. The danger we're facing now is that Ghana's in standstill in terms of no laws are being passed, important bills have to be passed, 2 Supreme Court justices have to be, vetted, etc., etc. So the law does not exist in a vacuum. And so, although one could argue that the Supreme Court interprets the law, they are the right place, and only they can interpret it, the practicality of it is that the provision is very express. The practicality of it is that the Speaker acted on precedent set in 2020 by his predecessor. And the practicality of it is that no law in this country is being passed because of this impasse. And whatever happens in Parliament today, one party is likely to leave if they don't like what they hear. And there's a lot of laws to be passed.
So talking about that, one party is likely to leave.
Yeah.
What happens after one party leaves? Because the first time that we saw one party leave, that's when we saw that, the Speaker had to adjourn Parliament. And it was indefinitely until this came up again. So what's going to happen? Are we going to see another adjournment, or Speaker can just go ahead and say we're going to work?
I don't think necessarily that they might have the votes or the specific quorum that they'll need, but if an entire party walks out, the Speaker would advise himself as to what he can do in that circumstance. But again, you know, the tax exemption has to be passed. A $250 million International Development Association Fund, the Supreme Court justices, 6 bills have to be passed, and as well as the financial agenda for next year, you know, just a snapshot of it. So, you know, everybody can be like big boys, you know, we're all going to, you know, stand in our corner, etc. But our country is on standstill because of this, and NPP should have dealt with this in-house, no matter how long it took, because NDC had to deal with this in-house when Professor Okwe said, well, I declare the seat vacant. You see what I mean? So that's why in the UK and the US, they don't go to court over things like this. They can, but sometimes, you know, the Speaker resigns, sometimes, you know, they deal with it internally. But this is the exact problem that, you know, they try and avoid, and the exact problem that is holding this country on standstill right now.
I'm still very concerned about what could happen if one particular side decides to walk out. Because it could happen. As of now, we don't know if the Speaker will go ahead and listen to what the Supreme Court has said and say that, okay, I'm going back on my words and I'm going to make sure that the NPP remains as majority in Parliament. Or he's still going to say that this is my seat, this is my office, and I'm going to make sure that my authority holds. Now, especially he's saying that the executive and the judiciary are undermining the authority of Parliament. Maybe he wants to make sure that the authority of Parliament still upholds, and hence he's going to stick to his words. That is when I feel a problem could happen. Professor Kwapon, do you agree with me?
You know, I tend to be, you know, a little careful in reading too much into what is motivating a particular branch of government and how it treats another branch. I think that was one of my points of disagreement with the Speaker in asserting that. And I mean, I'm sure it's a reflection of what he's experiencing or how he's feeling, and I can't begrudge him for that. But it's a bit much for me to make the argument that the executive and the judicial branches of government are conspiring, you know, against Parliament. I don't think, I personally don't believe that is the case. But again, I'm sure that when he sees some of the events that have happened, when he sees how the Supreme Court has responded to certain cases, some with, you know, speed and all of that, and others that are still lingering, you know, a reasonable mind could look at that and say, you know, is there something about some of these cases that is making the Supreme Court look at Parliament in a particular way? But for me, though, we build strong institutions when we disagree with their decisions and outcomes, but do not call their motives and postures into question. Because some of these things, when you do, it can chip away or undermine the legitimacy of institutions and how ordinary citizens see them. But that's why I'm a little careful to make sure that we don't go that far, you know, with some of these expressions because of what it can do to the institution in the eyes of citizens.
And you know, I've been thinking about something. If we had a Speaker who was coming from the majority side, if the Speaker was an NPP person and this case had been taken to court by the NPP, do you think the Speaker would have still said that the Supreme Court is undermining their authority?
You know, you tend to see this sort of posture where, you know, institutions are good, when I like their decisions, and institutions are not so good when I disagree with their institutions. But the kind of political culture you want to build is that regardless of whatever legitimate concerns or feelings you may have about a particular institution, is the ability to embrace institutions, especially in moments when you disagree with them, because that's the real test of how you build the right posture and the right political culture towards institutions, right? I mean, think about when you feel so strongly about a particular issue and an institution comes out and rules against it. It is in those moments that it requires you to say, look, I respectfully disagree, but I would not call the institution's motives, its posture, whatever, into question. Because I get worried that if that becomes a pattern of behavior, what you end up doing is you end up delegitimizing these institutions in the eyes of citizens. And it also comes at a very worrying time because, as I've been saying regularly, if you look at data from the Afrobarometer and you disaggregate it by party affiliation, you would see that citizens tend to trust institutions slightly better when their preferred political party is in power versus when their preferred party is in opposition. And I find that worrying, right? Because I say to myself, institutions should be consistent enough that it shouldn't matter whether my preferred political party is in power or not. I should always have the ability to trust them, to feel like they would always treat me fairly, etc., etc. And these are some of the things that we need to watch for, especially as we look at this unfolding situation between Parliament and the Supreme Court and how eventually it gets resolved. Because you want a final resolution that strengthens institutions and gives citizens more confidence in our institutions, especially at a time when our trust in key institutions is at an all-time low.
What do you expect the Speaker to do? What are your expectations from the Speaker?
Well, he talked about consensus building, working together. So I'm hoping that regardless of what happens this morning, he would find a way to work with the leadership to resolve this impasse so Parliament is not adjourned again. But it would also depend on whether one side of the House stays or walks out, because his argument is that we couldn't conduct business because although I had quorum for Parliament to sit, I didn't have quorum for Parliament to be able to take a decision, which is conduct actual business. So that would also play in this morning, whether parties would stay, nobody walks out, there'll be a quorum to take a decision, and then we'll see how he proceeds from there. But if there's no quorum to take a decision, who knows, maybe he might just follow what he did the last time and say, look, I don't have a quorum to take a decision. But I'm hoping that there has been enough conversations in the background with the leadership of Parliament that hopefully things would be smooth this morning. That's my expectation. I'm just hoping that they've talked enough over the days that they are walking into Parliament today with some kind of agreement that, look, we would go ahead and conduct business.
Right. All right. So, Amanda, in the instance where he decides to stick to his words, what could happen between himself and the Supreme Court?
Stick to his words in terms of just...
Sticking to his word by what he said earlier, that he had declared those seats vacant.
Well, the Supreme Court can do several things. I think based on the Constitution, the enforcement of the Constitution, Section 2, basically says that the Supreme Court is there to interpret and to see if things are inconsistent with the Constitution, etc. Should someone fail to do so, in terms of fail to adhere to what they rule on, Section 2(4) states that failure to obey or carry out the terms of an order or direction made or given under Clause 2 of this article constitutes a high crime under the Constitution and shall, in the case of the president or the vice president, constitute a ground for removal. So it would constitute a high crime to a certain extent, so they could say that. But I think because the speaker has been around for 30 to 40 years in one capacity or the next, in his sphere, he will know how to navigate this situation, and he will know how members will react. One party will walk out, whatever decision he makes, and that would allow him to stay within the law in terms of to just trigger that, votes can't be taken and, the quorum can't be formed properly. And so he's suspending Parliament again. So he's an astute practitioner in terms of, his area as a speaker. So he will anticipate what will happen and he'll navigate himself within the law, because temperatures will rise high. One party that doesn't like the sound of what he says will walk out, and that will give him a better position to protect himself legally when he makes his decision.
Now, the NPP are saying that they are a majority. For the NDC, they claim they're a majority, but they are still saying that whatever decision the speaker takes, they will go with the speaker's decision. And so is it best in the interest of everybody for the speaker to just say the NPP is the majority?
Well, no, because again, this is the will of the people. Those seats are not just any seats like the seats you and I are occupying. Those seats represent a number of people who have voted for, that person to sit there as MP. So they're not just arguing about, is it yellow or is it blue? They're arguing about something incredibly important, which is the will of the people. Furthermore, by December the 7th, it's going to be election time. And so why both parties are fighting particularly hard for this is the optics of how it would look as to who either became the new majority or who lost the majority. It might send a signal to voters, well, let's just go this way at the election. So there's a lot more at play. But ultimately, I will say this, I do think that the speaker was right yesterday to a certain extent. He wasn't right when he said it isn't a constitutional crisis. We are in the middle of one of the biggest constitutional crises this country has ever faced. So that was wrong. But he is right when he says that it should have been dealt with in-house. And I think NPP members should have realized that they sit under authority. And when we sit under authority, we don't like a decision sometimes, but we have to swallow it. And NDC swallowed it in 2020. So are they saying someone with 30 to 40 years experience was wrong and then you ran off? You see, so that is what actually created this problem.
Well, let's go to Parliament and see what's happening right now. My colleague Kweku Asante is in Parliament currently. Hello, Kweku.
Shortly, we expect the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, will walk into the chamber and gavel the House in session. As we speak, a number of NDC MPs have already taken their seats in their numbers, awaiting the Speaker of Parliament to do so. We'll pan the camera pretty shortly for you to have a view of how the chamber is looking. You will see a number of NDC MPs who've already taken their seats in their numbers. I can count close to 70 NDC MPs who are already here in Parliament, awaiting the Speaker of Parliament to reconvene the House. True to their, they said that they were going to take the majority side of the House, and they are doing exactly that because they are taking the right-hand side of the Speaker, the NDC MPs, because they insist they are the majority in Parliament. But first, there you will see in your shot the minority pews completely empty. There is no one willing to sit there. It has become like a pariah right here in Parliament because no one is willing to take the seat of the minority in the House. It used to be the side of the NDC caucus. They say that they are the majority and hence will not sit there anymore. The NPP MPs who requested this emergency sitting of Parliament have not arrived in the chamber as of yet. It's quite a different strategy from what we saw in the last emergency meeting, or in the last sitting actually, where a number of them actually came in. Today, it's almost 10 a.m. actually. If you look at the clock now, it's a few minutes to 10 o'clock, 6 minutes to 10, and there are no NPP MPs around. None of them have come around the dome at all. In fact, none of them, no sight of any one person as to what exactly their game is going to be, what a game plan is for them. Remember, the last time the Speaker of Parliament adjourned the House indefinitely, he did so on the basis that the House lacked a quorum to take decisions. If matters, as we've seen it, pertain, it will mean the same thing. It will be very difficult for the House to do any business because no one, I mean, even if all the NDC MPs are present today, that will not be enough to form the quorum to take a decision. And that could mean the Speaker of Parliament again would adjourn the House indefinitely. And so we are yet to see what the game plan, what the strategy of the NPP group is. Are they going to come in? And if they come in, are they going to take the minority side? Are they going to ask the Speaker of Parliament to intervene? Remember, only yesterday, the Speaker of Parliament indicated at that no-holds-barred press conference he held that it is not his job to arrange who should sit where in the chamber. And so that is not something that is going to concern himself with in terms of how things are panning out. So in terms of how the situation will shape out today, we are getting to know what the strategy of the NDC is. I'll shortly find a way and speak to a number of the NDC MPs. The shot you see there is the chamber of the House. I'm not allowed to get in there. I'll try and see if we can get a couple of the NDC MPs to join me to sort of get an understanding of what their strategy is for today's sitting, given that they have taken the majority side of the House, led by their leader, Dr. Kansela Toforsen, who together with his deputies, the chief whips, have all, taken their seats on the majority side. The only difference this week is that the last time something of this sort happened, you could see the leadership of the NPP also there, Frank Anodom, Bibi Drisu, they were all there around the majority leadership front bench. But today they have not been here. It is only the NDC MPs who have taken their seats and are waiting the Speaker of Parliament to gavel the House in session. Remember, this is not an ordinary meeting of Parliament. This is an emergency. This is an extraordinary meeting of Parliament that was called at the behest of the NPP group in Parliament, who amassed 15% of all members of Parliament, triggering Article 1123 of the Constitution and also Order 53 of the Standing Orders of Parliament to get the Parliament of Ghana to sit. And they have outlined a number of business, including the $350 million worth of tax waivers. There's a $250 million loan application that is currently before the House. There are also a number of the 2 Supreme Court nominees that President Akufo-Addo has nominated. They have been vetted, but they are yet to get the approval of the House to actually take their seats on the Supreme Court. And there is also the matter of a number of bills, up to about 15 of them, that the government side is hoping that they can do in terms of today's extraordinary sitting of Parliament. So, interesting scenes that we expect to unfold today. Yesterday, you heard the NDC MPs who did a news conference and indicated clearly that they do not intend to take the minority side, and if they did come into the chamber today, they will come in here and take the majority side of the House. And that is exactly what they have done. And they are not giving any inch at all to the NPP side, given the very cagey and important business that the House would have to consider. We are looking to get a couple of some NDC MPs to kind of have an understanding of what exactly the game plan is for today. Are they going to leave in case the Speaker of Parliament asks them to do so, or what exactly will they do? Let me talk to the Member of Parliament for Keta, Honorable Kwame Juloli Gakwe, who is joining me here. Honorable, you are not the majority. Are you? Why have you taken that side of the House?
We are majority.
How are you the majority when the Supreme Court has made a determination rather quite closely that the 4 seats that have been declared vacant will all have to be taken?
Yeah. It's simply we are in majority. The speaker haven't given us any order, and then the suit is filed. It's a speaker versus, it's a Speaker of Parliament. Yes, but yes. So far as we are concerned, now are we the members of Parliament?
So pretty shortly, we've been speaking to some NDC MPs. We'll get some more NDC MPs to get an understanding of how things are going to pan out with the proceedings today, given that about 70 NDC MPs have already taken their seats in Parliament. The NPP MPs who are not here as we speak, and we expect that pretty shortly they will come in if the Speaker of Parliament himself come in and gavel the House in session, how exactly will the situation in Parliament pan out in terms of the proceedings and how exactly things are expected to be? So we will get more and more NDC MPs and as well as the leadership of the House to try and get an understanding. As we speak, this particular place, we are not allowed to conduct interviews here. So the team can take it over at the studio, and then you will get some appropriate places to conduct these interviews to try and see if we can get a couple more NDC MPs to talk to us as to why they are taking the majority side despite that order that came from the Supreme Court.
Well, so that's what's happening currently in Parliament. The NDC has occupied the majority side. The NPP are yet to even go to Parliament. And so we don't know if the NPP will even go to Parliament yet, or they will decide not to go and walk out like they did the last time. Now, if the Speaker takes a seat and the place is just half full, where you have just the NDC members there, then what could happen, Amanda?
Well, I mean, again, he's probably going to make a very similar decision, that they lack the quorum to take decisions, and he's going to suspend Parliament. NPP is also being quite strategic to a certain extent, because it's only till next Monday that the Supreme Court comes up with their final decision on these 4 seats, because right now it's just an interim decision. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be a final decision. And when she says that this is a final decision, if Parliament has been suspended today, again, the NPP will, for the 4th time during their term, trigger the recall of Parliament again. Mm-hmm. So it's a cycle, but it's a cycle that's taking us right up to December the 7th. So I guess everyone's going to play legal games until December the 7th, but they forget the main thing, which is the will of the people, and they represent the people. And so if everybody's playing legal games until then, and no decision is being taken on the 2 Supreme Court justices, on the bills to be passed, on the financial projection for the following year, etc., government, no legislation will be passed, So there's one thing to do with the law, and the Supreme Court alone decides on the interpretation of the Constitution. That is an absolute fact. But the practicality of it is that the law does not operate in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. And so should the Speaker today just suspend Parliament again, and then by Monday, should the Supreme Court say, well, the 4 seats aren't vacant, then NPP would have to trigger the recall of Parliament, which I think takes another 7 days. And then in that 7 days, both parties will come back and decide what they're going to do. But December the 7th is round the corner and no laws are being passed. So they should have dealt with things in-house, I think, to have prevented this from happening.
Professor Kwapong, as a political scientist, let me ask you this, or political analyst, better word for that. Let me ask you this. With these things that are happening when we have just barely 30 days to go to the polls, some ordinary Ghanaians might think that the NPP is abusing the court system now. Could that make them a bit unpopular? And for those who also think that the Speaker is also abusing his seat by making it seem as though that's what they think, I'm not saying that's what it is, by making it seem as though he's the authority and nobody must cross his path, could that also make the NDC unpopular either way?
Yeah, so either way, both parties have to be a little cautious how far they want to push this disagreement, because you're correct. If you see an issue of, if you feel like both sides are being intransigent, it can have a different, it can have some kind of effect, on the ordinary voter. Well, if you are not willing, and then it also depends on how the voter ends up assigning blame. Right? Will they see this as it's the fault of one side? If it's the fault of one side, then they are likely to say, you know what, I blame you for this impasse, therefore I don't even think I want to vote for you. Or I blame this other side for this impasse, therefore I don't think I want to. So there will be some of that going on. In the most recent Afrobarometer, they're around 10. you see a growing majority of Ghanaians saying that they want more political cooperation, right? The question was, particularly should the opposition cooperate with government since election is over so the country can be governed? And you see a rise in the percentage between the first time that question was asked 2 rounds ago and 2024. It doesn't mean that Ghanaians don't want accountable governance, but I think that what they are recognizing is this 8th parliament and some of the tensions, disagreements, some of the sometimes acrimony that has emerged is not, in my opinion, my reading is they're seeing it as this is not helpful for good governance, which is why you see that increasing sentiment of can we have parliament cooperate with government a little bit more. I'm also, I was saying previously that I'm hoping enough conversations have gone on in the background before this day. So it's interesting just to see that, the MPP side is not in parliament and the NDC side is sitting on the majority side. I really thought that we've had enough days between when parliament was, adjourned indefinitely that enough conversations would have gone on in the background to come up with a solution so that today everybody would be here to conduct business. But just as Amanda also said, the Supreme Court decision will come out on Monday. So perhaps the strategy on the MPP side is to wait for that final decision so that they know how to make their next move. I guess it's like a game of chess. Everybody's waiting to see what happens on the board before they move, they make their next move.
Well, let me take a few messages. I know you at home that you're watching, you are definitely sending your messages to us on 055-157-5757, 055-157-5757. I'm here with Amanda and Professor Osai Kwapo, and I did promise you earlier that our politicians will also come and take their seats and we get to know their sides. And these are two former members of parliament, and so it will be quite interesting to have them to share their opinion on what is happening in parliament currently. And so I'll start from the top. This one says, the National Youth Empowerment Fund application form 2024 is out. Okay, thank you very much for telling us. This one says that, hi, Lady Rose. We must expect A to witness a showdown in Parliament because the stubborn cats in NPP will not accept their new role as expected of them because they are above a law of Ghana. This one says, good morning. The way and manner the executive and the judiciary has joined hands to weaken the legislature in Ghana is not the best at all. If extra care is not taken, it could lead to political disturbances. Kick out corrupt NPP on December 7th general election to save Mother Ghana. God bless the Speaker of Parliament. Long live Mamprogu Active. Okay, boss. A very special good morning to you, Rose. Well, I strongly believe that Mahama will win one touch, but he said Mama. Okay, from Dominic Opoku-Agyemang in Kumasi. So in 2016, one could touch the NPP's campaign promises, one district, one factory. I think I've read this one as well. Okay, so I think a few messages that came in very early. Says, NPP man, do you think we are small? Okay, good morning, Roslyn. I'm concerned about our collective attitude in Ghana. Yesterday, I had a disagreement with some women at the whole market when Professor Nana was campaigning. I simply cautioned them not to blindly support politicians who might take them for granted later. However, they misinterpreted my message and thought I was criticizing the NDC. To clarify, I prefer NDC over NPP, but my point was that NDC can improve. We need politicians who prioritize Ghana's interests over their personal gains. This coming from Eunice. All right, Eunice, I think that's a good one. Good morning, Joy Prime. JM is coming back to elevate Ghanaians from economic hardship. MPP enslaved Ghanaians with such as high prices of basic needs below item 1 NDC NPP. Okay, so the item kinky was 50 pesos, now 5 cedi. 5 kilograms of rice was 15 cedis and now 125 Ghana cedis. Ideal milk was 1 cedi 50 pesos, now it's 10 cedis. 50 kilograms of rice was 130 cedis, now it's 850 cedis, and many, many more. Okay, we hear you. All right, so this one says, I think Mr. Bagwin should do the right thing because Ghana's parliament is not his property. We need the laws in this country, regards to our next president, Dr. Baumia. Akonsi Gariba from Tamale says, good morning, Rosalind and my brother, Saka. Okay, the loss of Kamala Harris of the American election is a demonstration to the NDC that having a woman as a running mate doesn't mean that it will automatically translate into votes for the NDC party. Ghanaians would vote for Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Baumia for his digitalization concept, protection of the free SHS for the children of Ghana, and the introduction of credit score system to enable workers in Ghana to afford basic items to make their lives comfortable. As for the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Bagwin and the NDC are lawless lawmakers in Ghana because they don't respect the ruling of the Supreme Court of Ghana. All right, so I'll read a last one and then I go. Good morning, Rosalind. I know those who have decided to vote NDC did not enjoy the hardship we went through during his time. How will I attend SHS with my 2 other siblings when we don't have money to even pay for one school fees? But with help of Nana Dankwa, I have been able to complete SHS and I'm about to go to the university. I'm saying thank you to MPP. May God bless you. And those that think Mahama is coming back, I want to tell you guys that it will never, ever happen because Dr. Baumia is chosen. All right. So this is it, and I'm coming back to the studio. Honorable Ayepe is here. It's been a long time.
Yes.
How are you? I love your outfit. You look good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You look very good.
Yes, thank you. You look good too.
Thank you, Honorable. Yeah. How is everything, though?
Yeah, by grace, we are doing well.
And how's campaign?
The campaign is going on very well.
That's good.
The next president of Ghana, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, is lacing his boot to take over from Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Fantastic.
And that one is not even negotiable. It's a done deal.
It's a done deal, eh? Nice. Honorable Timothy Awanchima is back again.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me say good morning to Amanda Mete at the waiting room. And then good morning once again to our viewers out there. And that I am happy to join Ayepe. It's been a long time that we've even met here, and I tried reaching out to him, and he has been incommunicado. But as we said this morning, it's good to see him back.
Yeah.
I know very well that the people of this country are going to give their mandate and entrusted power to John Dramani Mahama, the nation builder, the credible former president. And if you check across the globe, former presidents are taking back their seats as president again because they've done enough for their respective countries, and I hope that that will going to happen in this country. We don't need to go into the records as to what he has done. His performance is out there. It's replete across the country, and people have called him all over as he trekked the country with less than 30 days to an election. We'll see what the people of this country will say.
Well, let's see what the people of this country will say. I won't even ask Amanda what she thinks about what the people of this country will say, or should I ask you?
I mean, the will of the people is in their hands.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people were supposed to vote a certain way for the American elections, and then when they had their own private moment, they decided how. But again, I think both parties have to focus on the economy and how people's pockets will be improved, and perhaps also make the distinction with what is going to be different now. And if they don't make that distinction, and if people don't buy it, they will put their trust in people who can, you know, give them money. And I think it's just down to money, basically. Can you deliver to improve someone's life? They'll vote for you. If not, they're not going to vote for you.
Okay. Professor Osai Kwapong is still on Zoom. He's not gone. And Professor will definitely be speaking to you pretty shortly. But Honorable Ayepe, your people are not in Parliament as of now. Will they go to Parliament?
Well, let me first say good morning to your viewers, yourself and the council, and my brother, Honorable Timothy. It's been a while. I'm happy we are back again. And also to the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the next President of the Republic of Ghana. I'm seeing the next President because I've been part of the campaign, especially in the Eastern region. I was with him, and I see the way Ghanaians are eager to have him as their president. I've been monitoring also what happened up north, the 5 northern regions. I've been looking at what happened in the Shanti region, Volta region, and Oti. Areas that you don't expect people to wait are done for an NPP candidate. We didn't see this in 92, we didn't see this in 96. In 2000, President Kufuor went to Volta region, people were throwing stones into his Jaguar car. We saw where people were hooting at the current president, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. We didn't see that in Volta region this time around, where Dr. Bawumia, where people were waiting for him. 12 midnight, they were still standing. I quite remember we got Eurocrobo. You know I'm from Eastern region.
Yes, I know.
I was standing in the crowd. I always join the crowd to disguise myself and listen to what they say about our leader so that he can inform us to know the next line of action. And somebody actually was able to notice me. He's from my constituency, but he lives in Slovenia. And he says, hey, this is IEP. Then I pull him back and say, well, so I'm from Kota. So, hey, Honorable, these people, they don't have time for NPP. But look at this time, they are still waiting for you. It means something is changing. Yes, and I believe that the NPP was stuck to be a can party. So that was what the NDC was using against us. And this time around, we have a candidate who is non-ACAN. So what is your message then in the non-ACAN constituencies? You don't have message. You go to Eurocrobo, you go to Menya Krobo, Upper Menya, Lower Menya, Udumasi, to tell the people that, oh, these people, that ACAN people don't vote for them. Now we have a candidate from the north who is non-ACAN. So in those areas, as you speak, they don't have message. And it's giving us the hope that per what we have done as a government, people are going to vote for His Excellency, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We will go to Parliament today. As a matter of fact, we use the Constitution as a standing orders to get 1/3 fraction of the Parliament to invite the Speaker to call Parliament. So we have to be there. We are there. But you know, MPP is a very calm party. We are very calm people. MPP, we don't want confusion. We don't want anything that will create confusion for this country. 2, you know, draft. People call it dummy. When I am playing the draft with you, you know, we put it on our laps. And I know the next moment I will win you. I will defeat you. Do we think I will tilt my lap for the dam to fall? No. Because we know we are winning 2024 elections, we don't want to do anything that will disturb the election that is coming on in 7th December. We don't want to do anything that will create confusion in this country, that will cause the Electoral Commission and the security agencies to postpone the 7th December elections.
Like what?
Well, now the NDC claiming they have majority. They've gone to sit on the right side of the speaker, who in actual fact should be the seat of the NPP MPs. If we go there now, what is going to happen? We are going to struggle with the NDC, who have gone to sit on the right-hand side of the speaker, and we'll be pushing one. A push may maybe a small pushing blow will exchange. Then somebody in Ayensuano MPP will say that, why should you slap my MPP man?
So me too, I'll come and slap you.
Create into confusion, to get into argument. At the point of the time, I will also slap you. It's create confusion in the country. So the decision that we have taken, until the speaker comes and announce where we should sit, We are not sitting.
But the speaker yesterday said that it's not in his capacity to announce where one should sit
I was
in
expecting
Parliament.
him to quote a law in the Constitution or a clause or the order in the standing orders that says that the speaker is not supposed to control Parliament. I didn't hear that from him. I know I was in Parliament for 12 years. I saw Bamford Addo, Right Honourable Speaker. I saw Right Honourable Do Adao. I saw Right Honourable Makokwe, and they control Parliament. We hear them order.
Yeah, but did they ask where one should sit?
When there's confusion, you have to decide what should be done for that confusion to die. More seriously, if you have created it, it is your pronouncement. And the NDC is saying that, look, for us, the speaker declared 4 seats vacant. And once the speaker has declared those seats vacant, it appears that we have the majority now. And nobody can tell us to go and sit at the left-hand side of the speaker until the speaker says that we should do so.
Okay.
And I asked myself, what legacy does Speaker Barbie want to leave in Parliament?
All right, I'll come back to you, Honourable Aipe. Honourable Timothy, I want to...
You see, Aipe, you and I have been in Parliament. The current issues that are happening in Parliament is because of the fact that you don't have majority. And that one slip from your side obviously yanks you into what minority. The facts are clear that you don't have majority in Parliament. You only have a majority group. So that was what Speaker was saying. And when we get to Parliament, you know that the leadership, how we elect our leaders. Sometimes they say want to elect the Speaker, but it's a done deal because when you have the numbers, it is a waste of time to go and then queue to vote. So it is determined behind the scenes, then we come and then Parliament goes. No one will even direct us to who should sit where because you know by your numbers that you are the minority. And that was what the Speaker says. The Speaker doesn't take part in determining
But
who
their number doesn't show their minority.
Their number doesn't show. That is
Yes.
the, in
so
fact,
they are
that is
not
the
minority
issue.
as, you
Yes.
know, it's been proclaimed as though they are minority. Currently,
For now, they are the minority. Even
no,
going back.
How do you say they are minority?
They are minority because even there are 4 members of the those who have gone in the 3 members, they are not part of them. So their number have reduced.
No, but you remember what Supreme Court said?
Yeah, but
that
they don't
should
even
still
come
be
to
allowed
Parliament.
To operate
and
Parliament.
who has even prevented them not to come to Parliament? Who said they should have the Marshal of Parliament been asked to sack them when they come there? Have the Speaker told the Marshal that when you see these 3 people, push them out? Have they even been to Parliament? And do they even go to Parliament? Even if they sit today at the majorities, are they majority? Can the numbers count up to 137? Obviously, no. It puts you in the minority. Even we are going to go by votes. Look at the improvement, what they are seeking to do. $250 million. They are going to tax exemptions, almost 500 million tax exemption bills, the approval of the Supreme Court. Who loses? You are the people. You are bringing your business to be done, to give you credibility, to be seen so that what you are touting this morning, that the people should look at you to vote for, is what the people are waiting to see. Is your belligerence helping you who is in party? Is this arrogant posture? Look at the conduct.
Is the NDC not making it a bit difficult for the MPP in Parliament?
No, they control business.
They
They control the house. They are the executive power is in their state. Parliament is done by consensus building, by negotiations, by a lot of applications you do. Behind this, even the leadership can sit there and determine. That was why we're saying that if it were to be Chairman Sabos, we probably wouldn't have even gotten here. We have told them, look, even if it is minor, they know how to talk behind the scenes. And they'll come and tell we the backbenchers to follow what they do. How come this time they are always running to what do you call it? To the Supreme Court for interpretation, where there's no ambiguity as to the sentences of the Constitution. Where's the ambiguity in it? All the articles, they are very clear. And even members of Parliament can interpret the Constitution just as the Circuit Court, just as the High Court and so on, even though the ultimate responsibility, Read Article 130 of the Constitution.
Read the whole Constitution.
Today
Don't pick and
we
choose.
have Amanda here, and Amanda will
They
tell
can
us.
interpret the ultimate interpretation then rests with the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Because it is an interpretation does come when there's a doubt.
And they said,
When there's a doubt, when the clause is unambiguous, you don't interpret it.
Read the whole
Won't you read? You are disappointed. Go and read it. Why do you
read the whole.
Amanda.
You have to.
No. Allow me to talk. Allow me to
Don't just
talk.
be part of it.
Gentlemen,
I'm not
hold
reading
on,
part.
hold on.
I'm
All right.
simply stating that the
Amanda is here.
Constitution,
She tell us what
the Constitution lists institutions that can interpret it. But the ultimate,
Hey, my brother, you were in Parliament for 4 years.
Wait, Honorable
interpretation comes when the clauses are unambiguous.
and Honorable Aipe.
Who determined
I
when
have
it was
Amanda here. Amanda,
I have not learned.
I just wanted her to explain and then you can.
Look,
okay, you
anything in the Constitution, once it is undoubted, there's no interpretation.
And this one is doubted.
It is not.
Two groups.
It is
they
not.
are giving different interpretations.
Who is giving that? Even
the NDC is giving
Babin does not even interpret the Constitution.
Even the Speaker of Parliament is also giving
Speaker did not interpret the Constitution.
That is why we need to go to the
Honorable Aipe, hold on, please.
Aipe.
Please
Speaker did
don't
not.
interject. I'm begging you so we can get his point.
Speaker did not at any time interpret the Constitution at all. He only applied the law, and that was what the law says. So what is this issue of Speaker interpreted? Where did he even stated that yesterday, when you read the Speaker's statement, he said that he did not interpret what?
So even when he was reading or informing the
he
House,
said
he
that
didn't mention in his information.
I believe in the
he's not
supremacy of the Constitution, not the the Supreme Court. He believes and he knows. This is a man who has practiced constitutionalism for more than 30 years sitting in Parliament. And even in public, 42 years, you know that. So he cannot arrogate to himself a duty or a function that the Constitution doesn't give it to him. How is he going to do that? Even me, who doesn't know law, how can I do that?
All right. Okay. Now you're done. All right, Amanda, please clarify it for us, because between the two political parties, we are going to have this, and that's how come we saw the NPP go to court. So please clarify.
Okay. I think at the heart of this matter is diplomacy. Diplomacy would allow all these laws to be passed. So the will of the people happens when the function of Parliament can work. And that is why hundreds of years in different countries of Parliament have observed the procedure of respecting the leader of your house and submitting to his rules. Although I do admit that Ghana does not have a strict observance of that in terms of the separation of powers, based on the fact that if it's to do specifically just with the procedure, then that's his house, he can do it. When it comes to constitutional interpretation, I will concede that constitutional interpretation is for the Supreme Court alone, as established in NPP versus Attorney General 1994, and as further emphasized in Mensah and Attorney General in 1997, that the Supreme Court can step in if Parliament violates, and they can only the Constitution, and they can only determine if they violated it by exploring the facts. And so what happened in this case is that the Speaker is deemed to have been fact-finding, you see. So he came to a conclusion about those 4 seats, and ultimately the Supreme Court is arguing that they are the only ones who can interpret. Saying that, our Supreme Court also has to observe their predecessors. Their predecessors in 1980, for instance, in the case of Tufor and versus AG, said the Supreme Court underscored the need to respect the boundaries of the different arms of government, cautioning against judicial overreach into legislative affairs. Furthermore, in 1993, the case of Pepper versus Hart, it said that the courts cannot inquire into the internal proceedings of Parliament. This is beyond the proceedings, I do concede, in terms of it is about the interpretation of the Constitution. But as the Supreme Court observes and interprets the law, they cannot do so in a vacuum, because all these laws have got to be passed right now, and it's at a standstill. And when they come to their decision on Monday, should they not look at the public interest, which is overriding? Should they not observe the public interest of the fact that, 12 bills have to be passed, etc.? First of all, the tax exemption has to be passed 250 million International Development Association. That is something that is before Parliament if they were sitting. 6 bills, including the Environmental Protection Agency bill, and 2 new Supreme Court justices. So, as was just said, who is losing? The people ultimately are losing, and NPP are the ones who I think mostly brought these bills. So
because they're the party in power.
Because they're the party in power. So, the Supreme Court has supremacy. We all adhere and we subject ourselves to that supremacy. However, the law does not operate in a vacuum, and if you think it does, you'll end up in the situation we're in, where, so much cannot be passed in terms of law, as well as the fact that the financial bill for, what's going to happen next year, it has to be put in front of Parliament. You see what I mean? So carry on operating that all, supremacy, supremacy, supremacy. Don't exercise diplomacy. Don't exercise closed behind doors, talking to each other, etc., etc. The people might vote either way, thinking, well, you don't care about our needs. You care about how you look. And yes, this is law, this is that, da, 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 da. No, it's about the will of the people, and the will of the people is suffering right now because no law in Ghana can be passed as everybody plays big boy, basically.
Professor, yes, I wanted to go on Zoom to speak with Professor Osai Papong. Wanted to say something?
This is the MPP's own letter.
Okay.
They wrote to Parliament,
All right.
captured in parliamentary handler,
I'll come to you for you
declaring
to
the
read.
former seat
I'll come to you for you to read that.
Because the former MP had gone independent.
All right, I'll come back to you to read that. But let me go on Zoom. Let me go on Zoom and speak with Professor Osai Papong. Yes,
Speaker, so let her rule her house.
I'll come back to you, otherwise. Don't worry.
If it is English, we will not think that we will set up a law.
Don't worry, gentlemen. Gentlemen, it's okay.
How do you implement the law?
Gentlemen, just relax for me. Hold on. I get you. Okay. So, Professor Osai Papong.
What's your name? What's your name?
Oh no, but you forgot my name now.
Listen to me.
I'll come to you. Let me speak with Professor Osai Papong.
If you don't interpret, how do you then know how to implement?
Professor Osai Papong.
Law is not about English law.
It's Prof.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Prof. So as of now, the NPP is still not present in Parliament, and from what Amanda is saying, there's a possibility that the Speaker will have to adjourn Parliament again, meaning that in a way, our development will be on hold because of certain bills that have to be passed in Parliament, which have not been passed in Parliament. For me, one particular thing that I'm looking for is the revocation of the LI 2462, so that we can control Galamsey. And I wish that Parliament will sit for this particular LI to be revoked. And so, as seeing the NPP not in Parliament right now, what are some of the consequences, again, that we can see with regards to elections on December 7th?
Just like Amanda said, important bills cannot be considered, business would not go on. And so again, the will of the people would not be able to be expressed as represented by their members of Parliament. As I mentioned previously, the question, the political consequences of this is, how do voters read this? And how do they assign or apportion blame? Do they blame the MPP for this impasse? Do they blame the NDC for this impasse? Or do they even move beyond the parties in Parliament and say that it is either the Speaker or the other way around is the Supreme Court that has gotten us here? Again, for me, for this reconvening or recall to have happened, I would have thought that before anybody shows up today, right, that enough conversations would have gone on, enough diplomacy, enough consensus building would have happened in the background to bring us to a point where both parties would walk into Parliament today and conduct business. Or they could have come to some agreement to say, look, if we still disagree on this vacant seat issue, and we know that the Supreme Court would come out with their pronouncement on Monday, instead of coming to sit and then having this situation of, well, we will have to, adjourn again, etc. Let's not even get there yet. Can we agree that we would wait for Monday, get the final interpretation for the court, and then we take it from there? In my opinion, that would have been, for me, a better approach in trying to resolve this thing internally among the different parties in Parliament, as opposed to another, public, display of this disagreement, and what that does in the minds of voters. I don't know if they are not talking behind the scenes, so I don't know if the leadership is not trying to come to some consensus, because again, they've worked enough with each other. I'm sure some of them even have close personal friendships, relationships, and I don't know why they can't pull those levers to try and build some consensus on this impasse on how they move forward. I just don't know what is preventing some gentleman's agreement on how we get out of this impasse.
Out of what you've said, I want to ask Honorable Aipe if you have received any intel that there was some sort of communication between the leadership before today.
Not yet, but looking at what is happening now, it means nothing of that sort has happened. Other than that, I don't think the NDC will still come and sit at the right-hand side of the speaker. Because indeed, if a discussion has gone on, if there has been some agreement, definitely it will not happen this way. But
and the Speaker himself said that yesterday. The Speaker said
he was hoping that they would have done
no
that.
NPP person has come to him,
reached out to
and
him.
he was surprised.
But it's, for me, that particular statement, again, he's a speaker. So my thing is, has he invited the two leaders of the political parties?
When I was ending my previous presentation, I said, what legacy does the Speaker of Parliament, Abang Babin, that we've known being in Parliament for more than 28 or 32 years. He's been there, you've seen a lot of them from 93 to date. And fortunately, he's had the opportunity to be Speaker, and I don't know what legacy, what does he want to leave for Ghanaian to say that, oh, this man...
Why do you say that?
Because I think if I were him, I will ensure that there will be peace, even if the NDC side leadership have refused to come to me.
The MPP side.
The MPP side. I will invite both parties, both leaders, and say that, look, what are we going to do? You have caused Parliament to come and sit. Are you still going to sit at the right hand or left hand and continue to create this confusion? Should I come and sit and supervise the confusion? Or what do you want me to do? Then they will sit down. If they disagree, then they say, with the disagreement, we cannot come and sit and do this. So let's wait, and Monday the Supreme Court will decide. And I heard the man who spoke on it. What is the name?
Professor Osei
was, and you also mentioned it, that the Monday there'll be a Supreme Court ruling. But the fact is, will people abide by the rules, by the ruling of the Supreme Court? Will he accept and go by that?
Say that if he doesn't accept it, there are consequences to that.
Yeah, but when they asked him to stay execution of his ruling, he didn't, and they wasn't able to do. He should have been cited for contempt. But I think Supreme Court is trying to be very careful not to create confusion in this country, because if the next thing we get up and the Speaker of Parliament has been arrested for contempt, you know what will happen in this country.
That's
so
what
they are trying to
Parliament was adjourned, and that is how come.
Exactly.
So it's not like he overlooked what they did.
But Amanda said something that I need to explain. He quoted how do you call it? Judgment, a case. That's how the lawyers will call it. See, this is different from Parliament or one arm of government interfering in the business of other side of government. For instance, if Parliament is passing a law and the judiciary is of the view that passing that law, they disagree. In the process that Parliament is passing that law, nobody can pick the law and send the law to court for the judiciary to interfere. In the process of passing that law, the executive cannot interfere in the processing of passing the law. When you do that, you are interfering in the work of Parliament or the legislature. But when the law is passed and assented to, there it has left Parliament. Then you can take that law and go to court for either the law to be void or whatever that the judgment will bring out. That is what is quoted. We are talking about the situation that the Speaker's ruling is according to one side of the House, is go contrary to what the law says. And another side of the House is so say, oh, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's go to read what the law says he should do. That is why I told Honorable Timothy that, no, there is a controversy.
You know,
when it happens like that, the Supreme Court is the final authority, not Parliament interpreting the Supreme Court, the Constitution. When it happens, when even ordinary Ghanaians on the street, last time I was at a funeral, when they noticed that I appealed, they came and were having discussions. With this short, about few Ghanaians that we've met there, 3 views, 3 interpretations came from the same act of the Constitution.
Honorable, so
that is why, that's why I'm saying that when it happens like that, even the ordinary Ghanaian on the street is giving different interpretations.
Okay.
Let's go to the Supreme Court. And what Supreme Court,
with regards to, Alban, before you continue, you know, Amanda cited example, and this is the example that the Speaker cited. He said, in the celebrated case of Tufor and the Attorney General, the Supreme Court affirmed that happenings in Parliament are a closed book, meaning that whatever happens in Parliament are closed book and they don't come in there. And this is the example that he cited.
Now, I'll also give you an example where after Parliament has taken decision, when in the process of taking the decision, you cannot go to court and stop Parliament from doing it. But when Parliament has taken the decision, that decision of Parliament can be sent to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court can decide on that.
All right, Amanda.
Yes, but again, this is getting back to the same point. It's an impasse because everybody has their own position. However, it's about diplomacy. What takes place behind closed doors and why for hundreds...
That is not working.
No,
you are here to help us to understand the law.
Let me make my point.
Look,
for hundreds of years, parliaments have been going on for hundreds of years in different countries. Ghana does not observe an absolute strict separation of power because we do have the supremacy of the Supreme Court in terms of the Supreme Court interprets. So we don't strictly observe that, you know, Parliament has this complete 100% immunity. What, however, we can learn from countries like the UK and the US, for instance, in the US, what happened at the time was during Bill Clinton's impeachment, political disagreements were handled through legislative and political means rather than through the courts. Furthermore, in 2009, I think in the UK, Michael Martin, the Speaker Michael Martin, faced significant political pressure over the parliamentary expenses scandal. Despite the scandal, he resigned voluntarily rather than face legal proceedings or be removed through judicial interventions. So it is about preserving the integrity of Parliament. It is not about man, MPs, everything. The integrity of the House has got to stand. The integrity of these 3 arms of government have got to stand. And all of them have reached their position through 30, 40 years of work in terms of these people in power, etc. So they have got to demonstrate some level of leadership that even we cannot observe because it is behind closed doors, and exercise that leadership in a way that does not compromise the integrity of their institutions and how they appear nationally and internationally, and the fact that the most significant laws that are yet to be passed in the last 3.5 years cannot be passed because of this impasse. So it is for everybody to go behind closed doors and to deal with this properly because it's looking very messy and as if people haven't spent 30, 40 years in each arm to be able to have those kind of conversations and think about Ghana and not themselves individually.
Right. Honorable, you wanted to...
Simple question. According to you and all of us, the Supreme Court has asked Parliament to stay the execution of the ruling of the Speaker. Is that not it? Question. Have the 3 members of Parliament, whose case is now the crux of the matter, gone to Parliament and they've been sacked? Did they go to Parliament, please? Do they go to Parliament? Are they there today? When you check, you saw Chairman Sebonsu in the chamber and so on. And I think about one MP. So the question is, the 4 members of Parliament whose case is at the crux of the matter, have they gone to Parliament and
it's
they were
not
sacked?
4 members who
4.
are in court. The court,
No,
the
no, no,
names
no, no,
that
no.
were mentioned were 3.
There were, no, that's 3 for the NPP and 1 for the NDC.
No, so the NPP petitioned on the 3, not
yes.
on the NDC guy.
Yes. So whatever the issue.
I have seen any petition on the 3. No.
No, I mean, when they went to court, whatever they wrote, it didn't include the NDC. It included only the NPP. And the man who crossed over from the independence to NPP. There was no mention of the NDC.
So, like Amanda said, in times like this, you cannot stay. Look, as we talk this morning, we don't have a watertight separation of powers in our current situation. Because members of Parliament are at the same time members of the executive. So you don't have a watertight separation of powers as we do. It is for a reason. And you see, when these institutions exist, they must coexist. There must be harmony in order to bring government business alive. When you look at the Speaker of Parliament, his point 5 said that Parliament is alive and working. It has not been dissolved, prologued, prohibited, suspended, or terminated. Plenary sittings and meetings of Parliament were adjourned indefinitely due to lack of quorum. A decision taken or created by the MPP, now minority side, who walked out. You have a business. You walked out. You don't form a quorum. Who should organize you to whip your people in to form the quorum? They walked out, thus allowing the Speaker to adjourn.
But they walked out for a reason.
And let me tell you, the current agency, the meeting, the emergency meeting at their meeting.
Honorable, please let him make his point.
Who called for this meeting? Who called for this meeting? It's not the MPP MPs. You call for a meeting. Your people have gone there sitting, you are not there. Yet you call the Speaker back from his international assignment that you have an emergency meeting. Is that not it? The emergency meeting is starting today, and you are not in Parliament on your issue of sitting as a minority and a majority. How does that help your government? How does that help the people of this country?
Why didn't the NDC just go and sit at the minority side, though?
Why should they go and say? They are not the majority.
Who declared them minority?
They are. You see, and the Supreme Court ruling and the functions of Parliament, they are not the same.
What if we have had just some sort of sanity if the NDC just went and sat?
So why can the minority now, the MPP minority, sit and make their case? Do we make parliamentary case outside Parliament?
The Supreme Court has stated
no. Do you make your case outside Parliament? Don't you sit on at the floor and make your case? You have called for the meeting. You have called that we should all come and sit here. If we come and you, the host, you are not there, and yet you call us, you think what do? We have taken our seats. Whether the minority or the majority side, you go and make your case on the floor. The people of Ghana will listen to you. Everybody is tuned to Parliament today to listen to what will happen. Go and there. Your absence in Parliament because you are the minority now, who created it? You created it. There's a precedent to show that you created it. And so for me, I think they should take their seats. Let's listen to the business they brought to the house to work. Let the business go through. Let the people of Ghana decide as to who show disrespect to the people of this country through their non-compliance with what happened in Parliament.
Yes,
it's not for...
Just a quick one.
What about you?
My honorable friend here has been in Parliament for some time now. Majority and minority in Parliament, it's not being decided by the attendance book. So the fact that he kept repeating that because the 3 members are not in Parliament and who has asked them not to come to Parliament, it deprived the MPP to hold themselves as majority in Parliament. It is not decided by attendance. It decides by the majority group. So I can decide not to go to Parliament for 1 month.
That is,
once I don't go contrary to the rules of Parliament, it does not disadvantage my group.
What if there's no controversy?
Membership. He's the same person.
They can even be two, but they are the majority.
Honorable, please,
he's the same person admitting that yes, there's a Supreme Court ruling that has asked that pronouncement
to stay
made by the Speaker to stay.
Yes, so why are they not in Parliament?
So once it has asked the speaker's ruling, execution of the speaker's ruling to stay.
Why don't you go to
Why should you go and sit at the majority
but why
side?
are they not also in parliament?
MPs they are in
Why are they
parliament.
not in parliament?
They are not going to the chamber because they are very decent.
Don't they respect the people of this
Listen
country?
to me carefully. They are not entering the chamber. Why? Because they are very decent people. And they've gone to notice, as you saw Honorable Atachia in the chamber.
When
They
you
are
brought the
so
soldiers
decent
to the floor
in
of
such a way
parliament.
that when they entered,
Soldiers
and
were
they
brought to the floor of
and they
parliament.
saw
Was
that,
that respect?
Oh, my brother.
Honorable, wait.
And
soldiers,
I'll read a few.
And they saw
Soldiers
that the
with
NDC have
guns.
gone to
AK-47.
sit.
Assault
If you are
Honorable,
in discipline,
relax.
if you are in discipline, you have to make sure that you become disciplined.
In parliament.
Once you recognize the Supreme Court order, why should you go and sit at the right-hand side of the speaker?
But you are not the majority
the
still.
NDC, LPP MPs, the decent people, the well-trained people to go enter the chamber to create confusion for
Honorable
Ghanaians to see. We are not giving you
both
that
sides are very,
benefit
very
at
well
all. We
trained.
prove to Ghanaians
And that
that
is
we are
why
very
Ghanaians voted
decent,
them
we are
to
very
go to
respectful
parliament.
people. We are
Both
not
sides,
going to sit
both sides are
and
very,
create
very
confusion in
discerning.
Parliament. That's why we not give you
Honorable
that.
Aipe, please hold on. Hold on.
AK-47
Because you are not
assault
disciplined.
weapon.
Hold
Because you are
on.
not
Grenades.
No,
Grenades.
no, honorable. No, honorable. Don't
Go
say
and
that.
sit at
Honorable,
the
don't say that.
left-hand side.
Honorable, don't
That
say
is
that.
where you have-
Gentlemen,
House,
gentlemen,
please let her
please.
conduct it.
Please. Every member of parliament that is there was voted by we, the ordinary Ghanaians, to represent us because we believe you are disciplined. So for
they
me,
should be disciplined.
honorable.
They should go and sit at where they're
honorable.
supposed to sit.
So for me, there is nothing
never
like
enter the chamber
honorable,
to create
please.
any confusion.
Honorable.
We will not.
Honorable. So there is nothing like this person is not disciplined, this person is disciplined. We are waiting for the speaker to come into parliament, take a seat, make a decision. Gentlemen, and take a seat, make a decision on what will be done, whether you adjourn, whether you make a decision, whatever he decides on, he's the Speaker of Parliament, and that's his seat. Let's take some comments. Honorable, I'll come back to you. Good morning, Ms. Roslyn. So if CJ and team, Justice of Supreme Court, sin against or act ultra contrary to 1992 Constitution of Ghana, who is supposed to punish them? Is SC justices above the law of Ghana? Is not ambiguous in our 1992 Constitution. Respectfully, if the CJ Justice of the SC appear to citizens to be misapplying and particular provisions of law to favor some MPs, while the Speaker of Parliament upholds the supreme law of the land, who is more guilty or contentious of high crime with regards to autonomy of each arm of government? Obed from Central Region. Roslyn, good morning. Tell the NPP man to stop heckling others while they are speaking from Tola today. All right. Good morning, Roslyn. There is one thing that I find it difficult to understand. I know it's Parliament that makes the law. My question is, the one who made or make the law and the one who is to interpret it, who can talk about it better from Awusagba? Okay, I can't mention your name, but Courage, from Courage. Courage says, who can interpret it better? Amanda, I think I should throw that question to you.
As I've said, you know, the Supreme Court does have supremacy in terms of the interpretation of the law, particularly because of Section 2 of the 1992 Constitution. However, I would say that, you know, the law does not operate in a vacuum. And if the Supreme Court on Monday is going to observe that this is a public interest matter, they do have other considerations to make.
Okay. So this one came in a bit. This one said, it's not Saka. It's not Saka who is back. It's Honorable Aipe. So it says, Roslyn, please look at the way. Okay, this is not Saka. This is Honorable Aipe. So I can't read this one. So the other ones that are coming in came in a little bit earlier. Roslyn, why are the NPP people taking Ghanaians for fool? None of them has more experience of the law, constitutional and parliamentary matters than the Right Honourable Agbangbagbe in the interpretation of the Constitution. Saka is disrupting. That's not Saka again. Because you send it at 9:20. 9:20. No, 9:20 you were seated. So it's not Saka, it's Honourable. I think because of the cap. Saka also came in a cap and a white shirt. So I think that's the idea I think is so. But this is not Saka, this is Honourable IUP. All right. So you can still send in your messages to us on 055-1575757. 055-157-5757. Yes, Honorable.
Ipe said that the majority side is not dependent on the register. Is that not right? Yes, it is so. It is so because the issue of majority, when it does happen, is unambiguous. We know. So even if there are two, they are still the majority side. Do you understand? Even if there are two who comes to parliament, they are still the majority. No one takes it away from them. It is the peculiar nature of this parliament, the hung parliament, where your numbers cannot make up when one fellow is dropped. That is where the issue, and that is what has equation this. Like I kept saying it on this platform, that assuming the MPP had 150 members of parliament, even if 20 go independent, they are still the majority. Did you understand? If they had probably, the last number you had 169, If 40 go, you are still the majority. So the issue of who is the majority or not will not even come in at all because your numbers are overwhelming. The problem here that we are confronted here today is because of the peculiar nature of the hung parliament, the numbers that they are having. Just if one fellow is sick and they have to take a serious decision, that's how come when Adjourns was in the US and they wanted to take serious decision, they had to go and charter a plane and bring one fellow to come and do that. Because the numbers were so
all right, Honourable, I have to cut you now. The Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Alban Babin, has taken his seat, and so we want to go to Parliament and hear exactly what he's saying.
We humbly beseech thee to look with favour upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and our good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honourable members, I extend a warm and hearty welcome to each and every one of you as we commence this extraordinary meeting of the fourth session of the 8th Parliament of the Fourth Republic. This meeting is a response to a request for a recall first dated 22nd of October 2024 and a subsequent one dated 24th of October 2024, both pursuant to Article 1123 of the Constitution and Order 53 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. Both requests were signed by more than the constitutionally required signatories of 15% of all members of Parliament. The first request entreats the House to deliberate upon and transact urgent government business. And the businesses were tabulated, and from what we had, there were not many, just a few. The second request, dated 24th, simply added many more items for the consideration of the House. So from the initial request for us to consider 5 items, this second request added 17 more items. And this request came from the MPP members of Parliament, and it was signed on their behalf by the second Deputy Majority Whip, Honorable Alex Tete George Dubois. In fact, both requests were signed by him. Honorable members, I had, under the dictates of the provisions of the constitutional provision, and got the administration to get the summons published to the notice of all of you. Unfortunately, the signatories who made the request have not shown up, and therefore matters that they wanted us to handle, which are admitted for the consideration of the Business Committee, are not on the order paper, and in fact there's no order paper for today because the Business Committee could not meet due to the absence of the people who requested for the recall. And as you can see, one side of the House is completely empty. In view of this, we have, as usual, got a quorum to sit, but we have no business before us to transact, because the Business Committee, as you know, they prepare a report, and this report is adopted by the House as business agreed by the House to transact during the course of the week. In the absence of that, there is no other authority that can put business before you which you have not adopted to transact. In view of the failure of the Business Committee to sit, as a result of the refusal of those who requested for the recall to show up, we are compelled to once again adjourn the sitting of the House. Knowing the challenges we are facing, it is not advisable to be adjourning from day to day. And so I'll proceed once more to adjourn the meeting indefinitely. And the meeting, this extraordinary meeting, is accordingly adjourned.
So as it stands now, Parliament has been adjourned again indefinitely, and the Speaker has spoken. His reason is that for those who recalled Parliament to sit so that business proceedings can go on did not appear before Parliament. The side is completely empty, and so he has to adjourn Parliament. Now, earlier, Amanda did say that since the NPP is not in Parliament, the Speaker will do the right thing by adjourning Parliament indefinitely, and it's happened.
Yes.
Well,
you know,
so let me go to Honourable Osaikwa. Hey, Professor, I just called you Honourable.
Maybe you've seen some vision.
Yes.
I see, I've spoken into it. But, Prof, looking at what is happening, they keep adjourning and adjourning. It's as though parliamentarians are now playing with what has to be done, the work to be done for the people, not taking the people into consideration, because the people put them there so that these laws will be passed for developmental things to be done for us. But now everything is at a standstill.
Very unfortunate. And again, I'll go back to something that Amanda has been saying over and over again during this show, which is the importance of diplomacy and finding a way to resolve this crisis, right? I mean, like I keep saying, I honestly want to believe that these parliamentarians have worked for long with each other. They build relationships with each other. Yes, I understand all the big issues of, the rules, the laws, issues of constitutional interpretation and all of that. I get all of that. And a call for diplomacy doesn't mean that all of those things should be thrown out of the window. But I was actually hoping that some of those, soft power things would come into play to find a way to resolve this for Parliament to be able to move ahead and conduct its business. Unfortunately, this is what it comes down to. So I guess at the end of the day, we'll have to wait till Monday, wait for the Supreme Court to rule on what 97(1) GNH actually means and its implications then for the declaration that the Speaker had made, all of that. Again, for me, it is not every time that we want everything to be subjected to legal interpretations and resolutions from the Supreme Court. There are times where we can draw on our own internal processes without flouting the rules and the law to be able to resolve some of these things. I just don't know why this. I think I can understand why the impasse continues because again, at issue is who is the majority in Parliament. If these vacant seats were not going to have an impact on the configuration of Parliament, in my opinion, I don't think it would be here. Right? If the 4 seats had been declared vacant and still it didn't chip away at anybody's numbers in Parliament and the majority would have remained majority, I honestly don't think we'll be here. But hopefully between now and the next time that Parliament is recalled, hopefully Amanda's plea for diplomacy.
All right, Prof. Okay, want to cross over back to Parliament and hear what the NDC caucus is saying.
First, triggering a recall of Parliament under Article 1123 and Order 53 of our standing orders and failed to show up. 2, we left our busy schedule, suspended our campaigns and reported to duty this morning only to see that the NPP members of Parliament who actually recalled Parliament, we noticed that they failed to show up. This morning at about 7 o'clock, we showed up at the business committee meeting on the 6th floor only to notice that the NPP members of the committee once again failed to show up at the business committee. I personally called the committee clerk and I was informed that she is out of the jurisdiction and no one has reached out to him, to her, to program the business of the day. I was worried and reach out also to the MPP side and to have an indication as to what their plan is. No one responded. I am deeply worried and deeply concerned that the very people that requested for Parliament to be recalled failed to show up. Clearly, what we are seeing here is an abuse of the Constitution and the standing orders of Ghana's Parliament. The NPP Minority Caucus have indeed caused financial loss to the state and to us, the NDC members of Parliament, and to the people of Ghana. We say this because these recalls cost Ghana money. This is not the first time that they have done this. They've done this a couple of times, but we see nothing than disrespect. We call on the people of Ghana to see the behavior of the MPP and punish them accordingly. They have certainly, everything shows that the MPP are tired, they are fed up, and they are not ready to work for the people. They are ready for the people's business. They are bereft of ideas, and they are short of vision. They cannot solve the suffering of the people. All what they do out there during campaigns, in spite of the hardship, is to sing and dance Osisikia. That's all what they do. In times like this, when the ordinary Ghanaian is struggling to survive, they are dancing and singing Osisikia and sharing money. We want Ghanaians to see them as such and vote against them and sack them. Because clearly, you can see, we have over 100 NDC MPs here today out of the 137, and we are determined to do what is right. But colleagues, let me make this point to the people of Ghana. Let no one deceive you that the NDC is here to obstruct the people's business. No. We are rather here to work for the people of Ghana. We see this as a call to duty. We turn up in our numbers to do what we have to do, only to find out that the very group of people that called us to consider government business, they have no business. So the truth out there is that there is no urgent government business. There's no urgent government business, and the government has no business. They have given up, they've checked out, and they want the election to be done as soon as possible so that they can leave office. Fellow Ghanaians, let's vote against this incompetent government and have our country back. Thank you.
Well, those are the words of the NDC fellow Ghanaians. I just want to use the word fellow Ghanaians. I'll not go any further. Honorable Aipe, your people did not show up in Parliament.
Definitely, yes, we shouldn't. And I agree perfectly with them. I think we are a highly decent party. And from the experience that we have had from the day of selecting or voting for the Speaker of Parliament and in the 8th Parliament, and what we have seen quite recently when Speaker adjourned Parliament Sunday, we don't want to go into the chamber whilst the NDC members have occupied our space. And then we also go and say that, oh no, let me sit. We know where somebody was sitting on somebody's lap. We've grown past that. We are matured people who are representing the Ghanaians, the well-meaning Ghanaians in Parliament. Why should we also go and enter the chamber and create confusion? In the Speaker's press conference, we were expecting him to give direction as who should sit where and where in order to
he stated categorically that that's not his job.
It is. That was if he says that, then it means he cannot control the Parliament.
He's supposed to be the one to tell where people will sit.
I hardly understand the Speaker. You've made ruling in Parliament. The ruling has been taken to Supreme Court. Supreme Court say you can't execute this ruling. Stay it. It means to stay means that what it used to be should stay.
So what then?
If you indeed respect the ruling of the Supreme Court, what the Speaker should have done in his press conference is that now I respect the order of the Supreme Court and I'm going by the order of the Supreme Court. So now Parliament, the MPP group is the majority in Parliament as it used to be. till
whilst they are not
Supreme
present,
Court,
because the NPP hasn't been present since
I'm surprised you don't understand my point. We haven't gone to the chamber because we don't want Ghanaians to see that show that the NDC wanted.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, and this is what...
Why do you want MPs to enter the chamber, go and push the NDCs from their seats to create confusion in Parliament?
So with regards to the Ghanaians that voted members into Parliament, I'm not going to say NDC or
to
NPP.
go and fight among ourselves, to struggle, to
Honourable,
push for seats.
hold on. We didn't vote you into Parliament to go and fight over seats. There are seats in Parliament.
Exactly.
For the people that voted you there to transact business on our behalf.
Exactly.
Wherever you sit, the people don't care. They want the business to be transacted. Why can't the business be transacted because of seats?
No. We have rules and regulations govern Parliament. Majority sits on the right side of the Speaker. Minority sits on the right of the Speaker. Where you sit in Parliament is rule that governs the Parliament. So you can't say that wherever we sit doesn't care. You can't even cross the maze. There's order. And there should be order in Parliament. So what the MPs are saying is that we are not children, for Christ's sake, to go and fight for seats. Go to the kindergarten room. When they enter their classroom, they know where everybody sits. The mature people like us will go and fight for seats. So, Speaker of Parliament, put your house in order. Tell us where we're supposed to sit, so that when we come, we'll go and sit there. As we speak, the Speaker has not been able to decide to order the House where the MPP group should sit and where the NDC group should sit. So,
the Speaker has told us that that's not his job, though. So that he will never get involved in it.
You see, he can say it is not his job. Per the standing orders and the 1992 Constitution, even in Akan, we said, it is your responsibility as the chairman, the Speaker of Parliament, to put order. Other than that, Parliament will go and sit.
1992 Constitution. What if the Speaker is also saying that he wants to seek interpretation for that because he doesn't agree with what is being said?
No. There's a law in the Constitution. The Constitution is there. 1992 Constitution shows clearly that, yes, we can give your interpretation, you can do whatever you want in Parliament, but at the moment somebody disagrees with you and take you to Supreme Court is
maybe
there.
He's disagreeing with what is there then.
That is why I say somebody disagree with the position of the Speaker. Okay. It has been taken to Supreme Court. Supreme Court has
No, you are using what is in the Constitution that he should tell people where they should sit. And I'm saying that what is in the Constitution, he also doesn't agree. And so he wants interpretation on it.
You go to Supreme Court.
So for him, it's not cast in stone.
You go to Supreme Court. But once you haven't gone to Supreme Court, it means you have no issue with that and go by that order.
Okay. All right. Let me come to Honorable, so that Amanda, you wrap it up for us, and Professor Kwapa also wrap it up, and we go.
It's simple. The Supreme Court ruled that Bagben should stay. The people should not be sacked. Is that not it? Those people affected, have they been to Parliament? And they got there, and the marshal was ordered to walk them out.
Honorable, please, let him land. I beg you.
But I was suspecting the moderator to say that you yourself, you have agreed that majority of Parliament is not being decided by the time.
That's what I'm saying.
Let him land.
I am saying that. Have they gone to Parliament and they were sacked?
Let him land.
With those people that the Supreme Court asked that they should not be prevented from coming to Parliament. Have they been to Parliament? Simple as that. And were they there and then the marshal walked them out? Did the MPs even appear at the precincts of Parliament today? Did they even appear there? Secondly, the Speaker said, and you heard Atufosun saying that, even the business committee meeting yesterday, they failed to attend. That is even where, when there's a confusion, you can resolve your matter like our sister keeps saying the diplomacy. That's where it is played. So what are we doing tomorrow? Are we sitting at the business committee? Because these are the leaders who go to meet there. They even didn't meet there, you know. And you are the leader of government business. You are the leader. We have Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. What is the role of that Minister for Parliamentary Affairs? What is his role? He's just there driving big cars. Is that why because you must lead Parliament, because you will sit in cabinet on behalf of the majority side and come and inform them about your government policies, what you're supposed to do. That's why we appoint the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. What has been his role? We're in this country, 7th December, if the date gets me right. You brought soldiers with AK-47.
7th January.
7th January.
Actually, it was 6th of January. Yeah.
You brought soldiers with AK-47 and bombs. You know a bomb. You know bomb. When they throw, the place will blast. And brought them to Parliament with military accoutrement. It was treasonable. And you were in power. You, the executive arm of government, was in your hands. Then you invaded Parliament with military. What was more indisciplined than that? Who has ever done it in this 4th Republic? If that day they had locked all the chambers and held the members of Parliament and said
Honourable Katie Hammond is on the floor. I want us to cross over to Parliament and hear what he's saying.
Should be reverted to. So we would know that we are going back to this. Why should the NDC guys rush to go and sit on the side of the NDC bank? What is that? No, but that is not the point. Where were they sitting? Where were the NDC people sitting? No, you are not listening to me. You are not listening to me. Let's get the facts right. Where were the NDC guys sitting? Is that where they're supposed to be sitting? But you see, we have a convention. We have a convention. It's not argument, nonsense. You guys are not listening. Supreme Court is speaking. It is not for us members of Parliament on the majority side to be arguing any point. This is a matter. This is foreclosed. It is completely foreclosed. Supreme Court is speaking. That is the end of the matter.
The Speaker of Parliament says when it comes to seating arrangements, that is not his business. He says we should come and sit anywhere and do the business.
Listen, the orders of the Supreme Court were directed specifically to the Speaker. It was the Speaker. It wasn't the leadership. It wasn't the clerk. It wasn't the leadership which made that ruling, that decision. It was the Speaker of Parliament who unconstitutionally made a proclamation, whatever it is that he said the last time. The Supreme Court is told him that he was wrong. Restore matters to what they were before you did that.
Line of action for the MPP.
Well, we will cite you for contempt. We will cite the Speaker for contempt. Watch the space.
I mean, there was no business. Your side did not come.
Keep on saying
where is the business committee? You should have sat yesterday.
Let's get first and first. Yes. First and first, there is a ruling made by him. The ruling has been overset. You're forcing me to repeat myself so many times. The Supreme Court is spoken. We want the decision of the Supreme Court to be respected.
Speaker acknowledged
that what?
Of the Supreme Court
and that what?
He did. 2 weeks ago. He did say that he has been served with copies of the judgment of the Supreme Court.
And so what I said, it is not a question of acknowledgement. It's a question of implementation of the decision of the Supreme Court.
But no MPs, none of the 4 MPs have been blocked. None of the 4 MPs have been blocked from coming to Parliament. None of them have come in and they've been blocked from accessing the Chamber of Parliament.
You are not listening. You are not listening. I think I'm going to have to say this for the last time because it looks like some of you have become impervious to what is it. Listen to this. The Speaker made a ruling. It was unconstitutional. It was unlawful. By any account, it was illegal. The Supreme Court, contrary to the assertion by he himself and some members of the minority who keep proclaiming from high roofs and high heaven that the Parliament is a master of its own rules and regulations, the Supreme Court is told Babbing and Parliament that you are not. There is an institution which is the master of the rules of Parliament, and that this is what the law is. That you cannot make the decision, the proclamation that you made. I call it proclamation because you think it's a king, it's whatever, it's a lord unto himself. But you made a ruling. It is not right. Supreme Court is telling you it is not right. Go back to that house. Can I not complete? I should complete. Go back there.
Honorable, two things.
Honorable, to do what? Yes, it will be the interest of Ghanaians for the Speaker. For the Speaker to respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. Come back to this side rather than continuously adjourning. He is disrespecting the ruling of the Supreme Court.
None of the 4 MPs have been disallowed from coming in.
You are not listening.
No, when did any of the 4 MPs come in and they were asked not to come in? Because today the second Deputy Speaker's aide has been in the chamber, but the second Deputy Speaker himself has not been inside.
You may want to take some medication. It has no point shouting when you are ignorant of the matter. What it is this: it's not for the 4 people to simply show up. The Speaker has made a ruling barring them from coming to the Parliament. Supreme Court is reversed. It is for the Speaker to sit up there and tell the House that his decision has been reversed, and so we say.
Reversed if you are not seated. You say you are going to cite the Speaker for contempt.
That's not properly.
I mean, you are going to.
How would the Speaker reverse his decision?
Again, I'm saying that you either want to take leave of your senses or you listen to what I am saying. If you are not prepared to listen to what I'm saying and just listen to your own voices, we're not going to get anywhere. Look at the policy of cameras. Everybody is listening, but you don't seem to be listening and concentrating on what I'm saying. It is not a question of our presence in there or not. It is for the Speaker. If it is only about 100 people who are coming to the room there, minority and the majority will constitute the composition of the House in its entirety. Whichever comes in there, provided that we have enough to constitute the business of constitute the House and then start business of the House, we should do it. So even if we had 99, which is 1/3 of what to form the quorum, it was for the Speaker to make the announcement in the House that his ruling has been stayed, has been overset. Accordingly, minority back to where you were, majority back to where you have been. That is the simplest solution that we're talking about.
You say you're going to cite him for contempt.
Yes.
When are you doing this?
Watch the space.
Watch the space. I mean, finally, the Speaker says that the majority has failed to convene the business meeting yesterday, so that they can put the business for this emergency.
I keep saying that first things first. First is for the Speaker to declare in that House the same way as Cathedral, the same way he did to make that. Well, you can keep on making that foolish statement. It doesn't take you anywhere. But what it is that it is for the Speaker to sit up there and make the pronouncement that the Supreme Court is already overset his decision, and accordingly we should come back and sit where we sit. Then the business of the House.
Thank you very much. Honorable K.T. Amon has been quite vociferous in his opposition to what the Speaker has done. He says that the NPP majority are going to cite the Speaker of Parliament for contempt. I mean, you heard the Honorable K.T. Amon says they will cite the Speaker of Parliament for contempt, and in particular some of the conducts that your colleagues have been stating by the majority side. He says that is all an affront to the ruling of the Speaker of the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Thank you. Honorable K.T. Hammond has shown a lot of disrespect to this House. How can he use those words, nonsense, and all of those disrespects and all of those things on Speaker? That pride is too much in this House. You see, the Speaker has recalled all of us from our constituencies. We are here to do the work as members of Parliament. Why didn't they come? They could have just come and show anything they want to show, say anything they want to say, but you don't stay outside of the chamber and come out and come and insult the.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Let me see if I can get Honorable Haruna Idrisu briefly for a word about all that is happening in Parliament, and the House has just been adjourned indefinitely. Leader, I mean, you've served in leadership for so long. What is going on? I mean, you at the start of all this when you started this 4 seats vacancy matters, and you've caused this constitutional crisis the Chief Justice has referenced. He said there's a constitutional crisis that Parliament is not sitting. The House has sat today, has adjourned indefinitely again.
Leader. Lecture them.
I think it's important that we recognize as a country that the 3 co-equal organs of government perform distinct and separate functions and must respect the mandate, power, and authority of the other. The matter before us may border on constitutional interpretation depending upon who invokes the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. But clearly, what is before us, given precedent, is a matter under Article 99 of the Constitution, which in my view strongly belongs to the High Court as a forum on whether or not to declare a seat vacant or not vacant. But those of you who have studied Article 97 well, you must read the text well. The text reads, "A member shall vacate his seat." Simple. A member shall vacate his seat. The onus is on that member. I'm not even too sure whether it's for the speaker to declare that seat vacant. It says a member shall vacate his seat if he. And when you read the he, I have read from persons in government, even from the learned Attorney General, seeking to talk about the future. The provisions in Article 97 does not only talk about the future, it talks about the past. When it uses the word, if he was elected, it didn't say if he is elected, if he was elected. And for me, I haven't revised my constitutional law lately, and particularly the rules of interpretation as I should do. But basic, give words their ordinary common sense meaning. It is only when the ordinary common sense meaning leads to absurdity that you look for their secondary meaning. I do not see how the text in Article 97 can be compromised. More importantly, many of you will recall that when I had the rare opportunity to lead the minority, I kept warning then President Akufo-Addo and Professor Michael Kwe as Speaker that watch the president you said and watch the consequences of the president you said. This is a consequence of a president. God bless.
Right. So that is my former minority leader, Dr. Haruna Idrisu, who says that this
all right. So this is what is happening. We had Honorable Katie Hammond speak, and we've had Honorable Haruna Idrisu speak as well. And Amanda, quite interesting times, I must say, from these persons who have spoken on behalf of their political parties. You would say that, you know, for Honorable Katie Hammond, he says they will cite contempt against the Speaker. How possible is this?
It would be futile to do so because, as the Speaker rightfully said, as I predicted beforehand, he would operate within the law. It lacked the quorum to take decisions, and that's why he suspended Parliament again. Furthermore, the Business Committee could not meet. And again, it goes back to our original point. And our original point is all matters should have been dealt with in-house because Parliament is like a marriage, with the Speaker being the husband. The husband has two wives, NDC and NPP. The second one of those wives decides to run to court. The marriage is over because they filed, you see? So when that filing happened, it meant that NPP did not trust the leadership of the household and was going against it. By going against it, it led to this trigger effect in terms of all parliamentary business is not taking place. And I do agree with what the Speaker said yesterday, that the vision for a Parliament that prioritizes the nation's interest over partisan agendas would have prevented this from happening completely. Furthermore, if either side, I mean, right now it's the NPP, but if they keep on doing this, running to court, running to Supreme Court, running to Supreme Court, it compromises the integrity of the institution. And if NPP doesn't watch out and people are viewing this as you guys would rather keep on going, you know, to your sister, the Supreme Court, rather than deal with this in-house and rather than submitting to the will of the people, which is by passing laws, will make you pay for it. And I'm not saying that the people will do that, but the optics-wise, it's better to look better for optics.
Let me ask Professor Kwapong if he agrees with you. Prof?
You know, yes, and you know, as I've said, I had hoped that you would resolve this internally. For me, the speed with which we keep, and when I say we, Parliament as an institution and the parliamentarians keep going to court and drawing the courts in on some of these matters, I worry that whatever precedent would be set as per the rulings of the court, a point will come where, if we are not careful, Parliament would not be able to assert their favorite phrase of we are masters of our own rules. Because some of these, and I also hope that when the court rules in interpreting 97(1)(g) and (h), it would find a way to steer from how Parliament conducts its business and focus on just interpreting those articles that are under dispute. Otherwise, what you end up having is you have an interpretation of the law, but then also you have that unintended consequences of now the courts being involved in even prescribing how Parliament goes about conducting its business. That for me is my worry. And I can't say this enough, that I just had hoped that before we got to this day, diplomacy would have prevailed and some resolution would have come so they could have conducted business today. The last thing I also want to mention is that, yes, respectfully, the Speaker says, look, it's not in my power to determine who sits where or not. But Parliament also does have certain conventions. I have maintained that the Speaker had made a particular pronouncement. The court had said, look, don't operationalize that pronouncement yet until we resolve this dispute, which in my opinion then means that the status quo remains, right? NPP still majority in Parliament, NDC the minority party, until the full pronouncement resolution, and then we can move on. So you also cannot flout some of these conventions knowing that we still don't have a final resolution to this. But again, our partisan feelings or dispositions are getting stronger, and again, it is what is resulting in this impasse. I just hope that it doesn't prolong forever and ever. Hopefully Monday the court would rule, and whatever the court rules, everybody just puts this behind them, accepts the court's ruling, and then we can move forward.
And we move forward. Thank you so much, Professor Osai Kwapon, for joining us. We are very grateful. Are you coming back anytime soon? Are you voting in Ghana? Oh, Prophet's gone. I was going to ask him if he's coming to vote in Ghana. So I'll take your final submissions and then we can go. Honorable IP?
Well, I always maintain my stand that our democracy has not matured enough to have a near hang or a hang parliament. We are experiencing all this because of a near hang or hang parliament that we have recently. It happened when we entered parliament in 2009, when Honorable Adjourns, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, entered parliament as an independent candidate. And then in 2012, he contested. Because we are about 169 parliament, fully majority over the NDC group in parliament, we didn't experience this. So, and quite recently it happened in the 7th parliament. It's been happening and nobody raised issues. So I want to appeal to Ghanaians that this get them roused, this thing, it doesn't help our democracy. We'll get to a point whereby we can have a hang parliament. We haven't gotten there yet because the partisan interest is so much. When you speak to Ghanaians on the street in connection with this, depending on whether the person is MPP or NDC, his interpretation goes along that line. Even experienced lawyers.
But I don't think Ghanaians were intentional about it. I think it was more of the people that were put in front of them who they felt could do the job. Because nobody even thought that as I'm voting for a hang parliament.
Exactly. So no, the skirt and brows, that's what I'm educating them now. If you vote skirt and brows, definitely you are promoting hang parliament. So they shouldn't, if you want to vote for Dr. Bawumia, at number 1, go and vote for all the number 1s in. If you are going to vote for John Mahama, you do so. Because our democracy, because of partisan interest, we are not ready for hang parliament. It will look, what is happening? If this
I voted skirt and blouse.
If this is not well resolved before first quarter of 2025, we can't pay workers. Unless President decides to use the executive instrument, even that has a limit how much he can spend from the consolidated fund. And you that went to vote skirt and brown, that time you promoted hang parliament, at the end of the month, you will not be paid. And we know some Ghanaians, if at the end of it, they don't receive salary for 1 or 2, 3 months, you know what happened in this country.
No, but you see,
that is why I'm expecting the Supreme Court, and I'm not predicting, but definitely the Supreme Court will not rule in favor of what the Speaker is doing. If that happens, it means that the first quarter 2025 budget cannot be approved. If it happens, it means that there are so many bills, and we know the World Bank has given us some almost interest-free loans that can use to help the activities of the 2025.
With regards to the hang parliament, if a Ghanaian feels that, I understand where your plea is coming from, but this is where, as a floating voter or as somebody who doesn't belong to any political party will say, if I feel this person is best as the president, I feel this person is best as my member of parliament, you can't force me to tell me that just because...
What I'm doing,
no, I'm just saying that just because I believe in this person as a president, but I don't believe in this person as my member of parliament, but because they are on the same ticket as the party, I should vote for the person. What if I vote for the person doesn't execute the
Exactly.
job?
That is why we are not forcing anybody to do that. We are educating. Because, as I said, if you go and have, look at even this near hang parliament, look at what we are going through. Do you think that we want our democracy to survive? And then if indeed we want it to survive, then we should be sure that if you are giving the presidency to party A, kindly add parliament to that party so that we can have smooth transitions, execution of business in parliament. If we mature to a point that, like in advanced countries like United States or United Kingdom, they at times have...
When are we waiting to mature? We are over 60 years as a country.
The UK is 500 years.
Honorable.
US is over 200 years. So if I say we are not matured enough... Look, when I came to meet my grandmother, who was transacting business in Pong Eduonu. Look at the time Kwame Nkrumah changed the Ghana pound to CD. Unless that, all that generation left before CD came to stand. Look, we are having a new Ghana CD. Go to the villages and some hinter. They're still using the old 1 million, 2 million, and that. So when we say maturity, we are talking about generation, wiping a whole generation for a new generation.
This is supposed to be a test
that is why we have introduced
this is supposed to be a test of our democracy. We will get here. We can't wait till tomorrow before we have experienced it. How do we fix it now?
By staying within our line, our lanes.
If you force your teeth out, you will see blood coming through your mouth. So what I'm saying is that let us go slowly and get there. We are not there yet.
We are there. We voted hang parliament.
I said...
We are here. Parliament is a hang one. So how do we solve it?
This is what is happening to us. This is what is happening. It's so clearly, we've tried it. It's so clear that we are not mature enough. Our democracy is not mature for hang parliament.
Okay.
If our democracy is mature for hang parliament, Supreme Court has spoken, and you're still going to sit at the right-hand side of the speaker, thinking that the MPP will come in for us to see scaffolds in parliament.
All right.
This will not help anybody.
Thank you very much.
It means we are not mature to have a hang parliament.
All right, Honorable Timothy, I want to...
Rosalind, what leads to people contesting as independent candidates that will bring these issues up is the conduct of the executive arm of government. If members of parliament are there doing their work, then you sponsor people from the flaster to come and take their seats. You head them. They feel that the processes leading to their becoming there has been skewed negatively against them. So they normally take a stand and say that, wow, you don't want me to go, then I'll also make it difficult for you. If the processes that leads to people winning primaries and going and everybody think that it is fair, I lost it fairly, there won't be any problem. There won't be members of your party going to contest independent and at the end of the day make things difficult for you. These 3 members of parliament we are talking about, they went in the government, they felt that their seats have been taken away.
Did you feel the same way when your seat was taken away from you?
I felt the same, but I still continue to be a loyal fellow. Because at the time my seat was taken away from me, people encouraged me to go independent. I said, no. The first thing is that I was contesting to get my opponent to lose. He has gotten me to lose. Why should I be annoyed with him? First of all, if I'm contesting with my brother, I want him to lose. He got me and I lost. So why should I go anywhere? We have to be...
What I saying? You know what happened to me? Have I gone independent?
Oh, but
you see, when you are loyal to a party, be so.
You allow me to talk. I'm talking for all of us as members of parliament.
But what you are saying, I disagree with you because
he's talking about the people that felt
the ones that happened to you.
It's not all of us that can carry.
Yes.
It's not all of us that have the capacity to carry
a few minutes more for us to end the show. So
you see, And what is happening today? Let's also look at the other side of the coin. What if one day, if an independent president wins? What if one day there's a president and yet the absolute majority belongs to the minority side? Will it go? Will the country collapse? We'll still have to meander our way through the policy and ensure that at the end of the day, the people benefit. Whatever their vote is, it should not be a crime against people when they freely make a choice from their inalienable rights. When they do, and you use that choice to hang the people, then it's bad. They should be able to go there. That's what my question has been saying. Why didn't they come? You can let the camera capture you, that you sat there. In any case, you have a duty to the people of this country, not to the NDC. You are in government. You are leading the processes of what? Of development. Whatever the issue is, take the interests of the people first. He rightly put out the World Bank has given we need approval and so on. How is it going to go? What of tomorrow? This speaker has sat in parliament over the appointments of ministers. They went through budgets, other policies and programs have gone through. This last one, you are calling the speaker names, calling names. Look at the belligerence. Look at the arrogance with which they behave. Look at how they talk down on people in parliament. Their own colleagues. So. And I believe, and I'm very certain that if Chairman Sabush was the leader, won't get here because of his experience and so on.
Thank you very much, Honorable Timothy Awantri Matabwade. Amanda. Your final take on everything that has happened so far?
My final take is that all MPs must remember that this is about what is in the best interest of the people, and this has got to be resolved, because come Monday, I can predict what the Supreme Court might say, which is they will say that the seats aren't vacant. I mean, that's my prediction. And then NPP is going to trigger the recall of Parliament, and I think there's 7 days. You know, there'll be a 7-day mandate. And then, you know,
we'll take us into another Monday.
Yeah, another Monday. And then we'll probably end up in exactly the same situation we're in. So basically, it's going to take us to the election.
But if the Supreme Court should interpret it, and it says that those seats are not vacant, then obviously we will not be in the same situation. This time around, we'll have the NPP move to the majority and the NDC move to the minorities.
But again, if there is nothing specific saying that the Speaker, and yes, the Speaker does have authority over the House, and he should, when one leads with authority, decides where everybody should sit. But if he's saying that you show me the provision where I have to tell people where to sit, and all of a sudden, people come and sit there. And then he's like, well, I think it's the person down there who's supposed to advise people to move around or whatever. You see, again, it's getting back to the same position. The law is in operation. The Supreme Court has supremacy. However, the law does not operate in a vacuum. And this is about the public good. So we need to see accountability, good decision-making, upholding standards of integrity, ensuring justice, and securing the best use of public resources, as well as, you know, making this about the economy. And if both parties don't go and talk to the Speaker privately and resolve this, it will take us right to the elections. And when it does, each side will present their best version of reality to the public for voting, basically. Right. I mean, that's my take on this.
Okay, thank you very much, Amanda. And this one says, Madam Rose, if this MPP man knows there are standing orders that bind the Speaker to make arrangement which they are seeking to go in their favor, but won't accept the same standing orders of the Parliament to declare those 4 seats vacant. And let me ask, if they can't go in there and see if the Speaker will do the arrangement in their favor, if they question rather than disrespecting we that voted them. Rosalind, it's high time you allow us blast these people called honorable. Look at Katie Hammond. He's okay. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. This is a bit too harsh. I can't. Rosalind, you see the MPP man likes heckling too much. Control him from Tola. Rosalind, the MPP speaks arrogantly wherever they find themselves and has a guts to describe the wise visionary. Okay. It looks like people are not too happy with some of the utterances from Honorable Katie Hammond. Good morning, Rosalind. Ghana's development has derailed as a result of an existing political party called the NDC. If a seat belongs to you, it's always reserved. Why do you rush to occupy? The actions of the Speaker clearly shows he has taken a political position on this matter, and it's It's not good for our democracy, from Ado Abetifi Kwewu. All right, thank you all so much for sending in your messages to us. This is all time will permit us for today's episode of Prime Afternoon. It's not Prime Morning, but rather we say Prime Afternoon. Sorry about that. And so yes, thank you all for sending your messages to us. We are very grateful. Now, all we ask for is peace. Peace and peace and peace again. But let me thank my guests for being here with us. Thank you so much, Honorable Ayepe, for making time.
You're welcome.
Yes, it's been a while, and so I wish to see you more
this time
and more and more.
I'll be regular.
Please. We need you. We need to see you all the time, yes. All the time. Also, Honorable Timothy Awantrim has been here since 6 a.m. Honorable Awantrim, thank you very much. We are grateful that you sacrificed your day for us.
He looks very fresh.
He looks very fresh.
Government that kept saying that too. But you are, look at him. When I came this morning, I met him at the reception. I couldn't recognize him. Before I got to that, this man. His skin has been so fresh.
You can always showcase me. Have you seen him? He's doing well.
Opposition is extremely good for you. I pray that
there's
God
no good
keeps
for the people
there.
of this country.
Okay, so I want to thank our lawyer who spends her 3 hours with us. Super grateful. We know how lawyers are very busy, but she made time to spend with us this morning. Amanda Akwoko Clinton Esquire, thank you so much for being here. We are very grateful. We appreciate your time. And of course, Professor Osai Kwapon, who joined us on Zoom. He's gone already, but I still am grateful that you made time for us. And for all of you that stuck with us all the way from 6 a.m. till now and sent in your messages as well, we are super grateful. Now, all we ask for is peace. We have only one Ghana, no other. You know how when America went to vote, it was a peaceful one? Yes, we can do it too. And elect our president, the one who will govern the country. It could be anybody. It's anybody's game. Just go cast your votes and go back home. Don't go try to steal ballot papers. Don't go with any weapon trying to intimidate people. Just go there, cast your vote, and go home peacefully. When it's time to count, they'll count and they'll let us know who is leading, who is winning, and all. It's very, very important. So please and please again, we pray for peace. And that's why the kids of For Kids Paradise are embarking on this peaceful campaign. Let's take a look at it. And then after that, we have other shows that will continue during the day. But don't forget, from the 14th to the 17th, we are all gathering at the Good Park for Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair. I can't wait to see you there because there'll be so many fun activities. Now, on Friday, I'll be pulling all my guests to the Good Park because we work so hard and we need to relax ourselves. So Andy Dusty will be on the 10 tables and we'll be boogieing. We'll all be boogieing at the Good Park. And then on Saturday, that's when we will have our modeling show, our fashion show. So come in your traditional wear, your traditional marriage wear, look good, look fantastic. And on Sunday, we have our cooking competition. I can't wait to see you there. But like I said, it's all about peace. We can't enjoy all these if we don't have peace. So make peace reign. Let's enjoy something from the children of For Kids Paradise. My name is Roslyn Fairley. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
When there is chaos in the country, women and children fall the most victims. It is therefore prudent that we become the voices of peace.
I want to be part of a future where Ghana is so peaceful, a country, a place where other countries look up to because we respect each other.
When I grow up, I want to be a president, but without peace, my dreams cannot come true.
If there is peace, people can speak their mind and vote without fear. I want everyone to feel they can share their voice for a better Ghana.
I invite you to become a peace champion today.
Because peace starts with you.
Because peace starts with you.
Because peace starts with you.
We want peace.
Because peace starts with you.
Because peace starts with you.